Boston, and welcome to Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. It's the fourth and final game of a series between the visiting New York Yankees and the first place Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox have won the first three games of this series, looking to inch a little bit closer to a potential division title. This series began on Thursday. It looked good for the Yankees early. They were up 5-2 going to the ninth, and the Red Sox scored 5 in the ninth, capped by a 3-run homer by Hanley Ramirez. Boston wins 7-5. Friday night, more Hanley Ramirez, another home run. This one off Luis Cessa. Jackie Bradley Jr. would homer as well, and the Red Sox beat the Yankees 7-4. Then yesterday afternoon, the Yankees started well. Gary Sanchez, who else? A 2-run shot off David Price over the monster, but back come the Red Sox. They tie it on a base hit by Mookie Betts, and he comes in to score the eventual winning run on a wild pitch. Boston wins 6-5. So here's how it looks in the standings. The Orioles won today, but the Red Sox still have a 2.5 game lead in the East. The Yankees have a number of teams to climb over. The Red Sox have dealt their playoff hopes a serious blow here in the first 3 games of this series. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Boston. Dan Schulman, Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone, glad you're with us as always for Sunday Night Baseball. For the Yankees, there hasn't been a lot of good news lately. They've lost 6 out of 7, suffered a couple of injuries yesterday, but one thing that Joe Girardi can count on, a guy who's opened up everybody's eyes into baseball the last 6 weeks or so, is Gary Sanchez.
Well, Dan, that is the beauty of where baseball is at right now. There's so many young players coming up and making a huge impact on their team, but no player has made more of an impact than Gary Sanchez on these Yankees. You think about how different this Yankee team is, but not only different, but better. And it's not just the energy that he infuses into this team, but you gotta love the long ball that he brings. He has had 15 home runs since he was brought up in early August. There have been only 3 players in Major League Baseball history who've done it in fewer at-bats than Gary Sanchez. And it's not just the big bat. He can play some serious D behind the plate, too. And you think about the hope that he has brought for this Yankees team in September.
He's a big part of their future. He's in the lineup, but he is DHing tonight. Not in the lineup tonight for the Red Sox, David Ortiz, as he gets a night off. But even if somebody's out, it seems that all season long the Red Sox have been able to find a lot of other guys to step up. This has been a 1 through 9 dangerous offense.
It really has. And this is the separator between the Red Sox and the rest of Major League Baseball, really. By any measure, this is the best offense in Major League Baseball, and they've scored more runs than anyone in the game, averaging more than 5.5 runs per game, which leads the major leagues. But as Dan said, they do it up and down the lineup with so many different guys. 4 guys with 25 or more home runs on the season for the 5th time in this illustrious franchise, and 7 guys with more than 65 RBIs. If this team is going to get to the postseason and go on deep in October, a big part of it will be that dynamic offense where there's nowhere for a pitcher to go, really.
You hear about Ortiz and the great final year that he's having. You hear about Mookie Betts, who might win the MVP. A guy getting overshadowed and overlooked this year is Hanley Ramirez, but he's put up some great numbers. For more, here's Buster Olney.
Yeah, Dan, it was around the All-Star break that Hanley Ramirez made up his mind. He was going to swing at better pitches, and he's been so locked in of late that on most days he's taking fewer than a dozen swings in batting practice. Before a game against the Blue Jays recently, he asked assistant hitting coach Vic Rodriguez to flip him some pitches. He hammered the first pitch, walked away, and said, "I'm good." And he's exactly right. Dan, back to you.
Incredible numbers, as you can see, Buster. Thank you. Over his last 32 games, he's hitting cleanup tonight with David Ortiz not in the starting lineup. They're number 1 in the American League East right now, and they're hoping to move a little bit closer towards a division title. It'll be the Red Sox hosting the Yankees when we come back. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is presented by Taco Bell. Grab any $5 box at Taco Bell and you could win PlayStation VR. And in part by Scottrade. Scottrade, now is your moment. A lively gathering here at Fenway Park tonight for Sunday Night Baseball. The Red Sox are playing well. They are 20 games over 500 and 2.5 in front of the Orioles, 3.5 in front of the Blue Jays, 7 in front of the Yankees in the American League East standings as we move into the final 2 weeks of the regular season with still so much yet to be decided. Joe Girardi's Yankees have had a tough stretch. They played so well after the trades. So many young players, Gary Sanchez most notably among them, came up and contributed. They had a stretch where they won 24 out of 37, but they've lost 6 out of 7 since. So they find themselves in some trouble right now with a number of teams to pass and running out of days on the calendar in which to get hot. John Farrell, meanwhile, you never want to assume anything, and he won't. He won't get too far ahead of himself at all. But boy, things are going well for the Red Sox right now. They've taken the first 3 games of this series, and all these teams in the American League East, of course, they play each other like crazy for the last 2 weeks of the season. So much can change between now and October the 2nd. Red Sox getting ready to take the field. Dustin Pedroia waiting for the go-ahead. And here they go. Let's start with a look at the Yankees lineup tonight. Again, some injuries make this a different looking lineup. Here it is, presented by Taco Bell.
Well, Dan, the most recent addition to this lineup is that of Billy Butler, signed just before this series after he was released by the A's, and he's contributed in a big way. 4 RBIs, a home run, 3 for 7 in the last 3 games against the Red Sox. And right behind him is Didi Gregorius, who's having a career high season, home runs, RBIs. He also hits well against lefties. Should be a good matchup against Pomeranz. 317 versus lefties, which is the 3rd best in majors by a left-handed hitter.
And speaking of Pomeranz, that is Drew Pomeranz, the left-hander on the mound for the Red Sox tonight. He was picked up in a midseason deal with San Diego, a deadline deal, and an all-star with the Padres this year. Has not fared as well since coming to Boston. As you can see, a 2.47 ERA with San Diego, a 4.60 ERA with Boston. Has had some good starts, some very good starts with the Red Sox. Was knocked around in his last start against Baltimore. Just 2 innings, gave up a couple of home runs and 5 earned runs in the ballgame.
Command was a real issue for Pomeranz in his last start, as he's at a point in the season innings-wise where he's never been before. Over 160 innings pitched. They're hoping that he can bounce back from a command standpoint against the Yankees tonight.
Not in the lineup tonight is David Ortiz. They look to give him a day off every now and again. They've got a travel night tonight and a game tomorrow night at Baltimore. And he's been hitting so well, running around the bases so much, that the feet are a chronic problem. So they look to give him a breather every now and again when they can. He also doesn't have good numbers in his career against CC Sabathia, tonight's starter for the Yankees. He is having arguably as good a season as any 40-year-old has ever had. Lots of smiles for and around David Ortiz so far this year. Is available to pinch hit later in the ballgame if needed. Vic Carapazza's the home plate ump. John Hirschbeck, the crew chief, at first. DJ Rayburn at second. Bill Welke at third. And you're looking at Brett Gardner, a leadoff man for the Yankees tonight. Jacoby Ellsbury, Starlin Castro left last night's game with injuries. It is a decimated lineup right now as Gardner steps in to get the ballgame underway. And he takes a strike over the inside corner to get it started. Gardner, Ronald Torreyes, and then Gary Sanchez, the top third of the lineup for Joe Girardi tonight. And the 0-1 is lined into the right field corner. Gardner around first, on his way to second as Betts cuts it off on the track, and Gardner's aboard with a leadoff double. So a good start for the Yankees here in the final game of this series. They have swung the bats reasonably well at times in this series, but they haven't been able to keep that relentless Boston offense down, losing 7-5, 7-4, and 6-5 in the 3 games. And as we mentioned, the Yankees have their work cut out for them. But with a Blue Jay loss today, if the Yankees can win tonight, they will get within 3 games of the second wild card spot. Now they've got to jump over a number of teams still. But they entered play today 4 games out of that second wild card. Toronto lost to the Angels today to split a 4-game series. Baltimore defeated Tampa Bay, so Baltimore's a game up on Toronto for the first wild card spot. And here's Ronald Torreyes getting a start at third tonight. Or Chase Headley has a bit of a lower back issue, so Torreyes is in the lineup. So no Headley, no Ellsbury, no Castro. Mark Teixeira, who's retiring at the end of the year, isn't in the lineup. Of course, Beltran is gone. A-Rod is gone. And a foul off down the right side.
So far, Pomeranz, after that first strike, is missed on the plate for the ringing double by Gardner, and now has missed his spot with the first 2 fastballs to Torreyes, although enough on that pitch to net him a strike. But that command, which was such an issue for him in his last start, he needs to dial that in to set up that curveball and his cut fastball.
1-1. There's the curveball, and it misses down and in ball 2. He'll throw that curveball 39% of the time. That's the highest percentage for any starting pitcher in baseball. That's a foul ball.
And the reason he throws that curveball so much is because he doesn't really have a changeup. He'll take a little bit off the fastball. He'll kind of choke the fastball a little bit with his hands to take a little velocity on it, almost like a BP fastball. The way he works to right-handers, he'll try and cut the fastball occasionally in on their hands and try and spot the fastball.
Torreyes trying to at least advance the runner. And he won't do it. Swings over the top of the curveball for out number 1. So now one of the guys who has been the talk of baseball the last several weeks, rookie catcher Gary Sanchez, who has 15 home runs in 154 at-bats this year. And you can see since August the 3rd, when he was called up, he's in the top 3 in the American League in OPS and in home runs. This guy quickly has gotten rave reviews not only as a hitter, but as a catcher as well. He's DHing tonight, but Joe Girardi, his manager, who was a great defensive catcher in his day, raves about his work behind the plate as well.
And this is where I think Billy Butler behind him and Didi, first base open, need to be able to kind of establish, at least against Pomeranz in this game, so that they pitch to Gary Sanchez.
Not if you're Sanchez and you're a hot hitter like this and you know that this is a spot where they're going to pitch carefully. Not the worst thing in the world that they fall behind or they get ahead of you here, and then it tempts them to come after you a little bit more.
Fastball there, 0-2. Sanchez has had a productive series, had a couple of hits Thursday, had a 2-run double Friday, and had a 2-run homer yesterday. Gardner out at second with a 1 out, just underway here in the top of the first at Fenway Park. Curveball, check swing on the appeal. He didn't go.
Gary Sanchez last night really looking middle away. He got a pitch down and in and just crushed it over the green monster against David Price. Another lefty, and that's something that the Sox were trying to do all game long, is really get in on the hands of Gary Sanchez. He really likes to drive the ball in those 15 home runs, something middle away. It's where for Pomeranz using that cut fastball to try to get in on the hands of Sanchez.
They got to Price for 5 runs in 6 innings, although Price prior to yesterday had been pitching extremely well, better and better as the season goes along. 1-2 now. Curveball again, swing and a miss, and he got him. 2 down.
Well, you touched on it, Dan. 39% with that curveball, and we've seen it for the first 2 outs now. He He didn't get Sanchez to chase the first time, but this time he moves it up. You see the spike on that knuckle curveball. He starts that ball up in the strike zone and then just puts it in the dirt. Holiday back behind home plate blocks it. See, Sanchez sees it early as a strike, but then it just disappears down in the dirt. A big second out for Pomerantz and the Red Sox.
So now with 2 down and a runner at second, here is Billy Butler. Butler was released by Oakland a week ago. Remember earlier this season, just several weeks ago, reportedly got into a physical altercation with his then teammate Danny Valencia. Butler was injured on the play, spent a few days out of the lineup on the concussion DL, was eventually let go. He's got another year on his contract, but the A's let him go, and the Yankees, because of all the issues and injuries that they're having, they picked him up just this week, just to get another body, another bat, someone who could help them against left-handed pitching. They knew they would see a lot of left-handed pitching here in Boston. And Butler so far in 3 games with the Yankees is 3 for 7, including a home run.
And this is a spot now, though, that they've fallen behind him, that they'll pitch carefully. Even though Gregorius has had such a good season against lefties on deck, he'll likely not completely give in. He tries to work that cutter there in on the hands. Probably be a green light situation now for Butler, but I'm not sure if they're going to give him anything real good to hit.
Butler looked down to third to see what was up. Joe Espada's looking out at Gardner, the runner. There was no sign coming from the third base coach, which probably means you've been around long enough. You know what to do. If you like it, go get it. Inside corner for a strike, 3-1. Espada's got most of his attention focused on the runner right now. He's leaving Billy Butler on his own at the plate. Leadoff double by Gardner, but 2 down in the inning now. And it's a low ball 4. So 2 men on with 2 out. As Didi Gregorius comes to the plate now for the Yankees. As Jess mentioned, Gregorius is having his best year in the big leagues, a career high in home runs and RBIs. The left-hand hitting Gregorius has done a great job against left-handed pitching, and he has become a definite part of the next stage for the New York Yankees. He and Starlin Castro, who's out with an injury right now, suffered a hamstring injury last night. A couple of guys in their mid-20s playing in the middle of the infield, and I think especially in the case of Gregorius, really has opened up some people's eyes in his second year as a Yankee what kind of a player he can be.
Absolutely. He is definitely a part of the core going forward, and now you add to the mix Gary Sanchez behind home plate, and the middle of the diamond is starting to take shape with some young.
Sharply hit ball into right field, a base hit. Gardner is getting the wave. Betts comes up throwing. It is cut, and Gardner will score standing up to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead.
And I feel like the reason why Didi Gregorius is having the career year that he's having is his approach and the way he slowed the game down. And you see this curveball, he's able to recognize the pitch. He doesn't crush it. He just sees as he's swinging exactly what's happening. He's able to get enough barrel on it, get it through for a base hit and an RBI.
His 66th RBI on the season. And it gives the Yankees a 1-0 lead here in the first. Yankees have held leads in 2 of the 3 games in this series, but have not been able to finish the job. They're off to a good start here tonight. A run into the first as Brian McCann comes to the plate. First pitch swinging and a fly ball to left field. Young tracking back, has room right in front of the monster to make the catch. A run for the Yankees, but that's all. Chris Young with just enough room to haul it in. 1-0 lead on the Red Sox as the Red Sox come up here in the bottom of the first. It is the best offensive team in baseball. Here's the starting lineup tonight for the Red Sox, presented by Taco Bell.
Well, one of the front runners for MVP this year, Mookie Betts, having a monster campaign in the middle of this lineup. 106 RBIs, which is 4th in the American League. And remember, much of the year was spent in the leadoff position. And then Hanley Ramirez has absolutely caught fire here in the month of September. A lot of big hits, a lot of big home runs. 5th in the American League with over 100 RBIs as well.
They'll face 36-year-old lefty CC Sabathia, who is 8-12 with a 4.10 ERA, coming off a very good outing Tuesday against the Dodgers. 6 1/3 shutout innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. This will be his second appearance of the year against the Red Sox. Went 5 1/3, gave up 5 runs, 4 earned back in July. That was at Yankee Stadium. Sabathia got off to a good start this year, then had a great May and first part of June, and then really struggled for about 2 months, and now he's back on the uptick again heading into the end of the season. Facing Dustin Pedroia, 2nd in the American League in batting at .327, and look at those numbers since being moved to the leadoff spot on August the 10th. It started because Mookie Betts was becoming so productive, driving in so many runs. They wanted to put him in more of an RBI spot, so they dropped Betts down to 4, put Ortiz at 3, got that left-handed bat between some of the righties. Bogarts to 2 and Pedroia to 1. And Pedroia hitting over 400 over that time. In their first strike, it's 2-2. No matter where you hit Betts, and he's hitting 3rd tonight, he has put up some great numbers, and without question is on a short list for MVP of the American League. Not too many guys have a better case than he does. Pulled foul.
For CC against these right-handed hitters for the Boston Red Sox, we talked about the cut fastball with Drew Pomeranz. The cutter has become a very important pitch for CC. Now that he's not as overpowering, obviously, as he once was when he was a dominating lefty, that cutter to get inside on the righties is an important pitch to set up the two-seamer and the changeup to the outer half.
Got it on Pedroia's hands, and he fouls it back. Will there be a play for McCann? There will. Just in front of the screen, Pedroia retired.
And that's just outstanding execution there by CC Sabathia, getting that cut fastball in on the hands, and the fact that you set the tone early. First hitter of the game, Pedroia, looking hard out over the plate. You see that cut fastball come in off the plate and really just tie up Dustin Pedroia. If he shows he can command that early in this ball game, that sets up the soft stuff, the changeup, the two-seam fastball down and away.
So 1 out of the bottom of the first, and here's the shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, who had a big day yesterday. Bogaerts with 2 doubles and a home run yesterday. The home run his 20th, as he became the 5th member of the Red Sox to reach the 20 home run plateau this season. And a strike just above the knees, 1-1.
Well, I think the best thing that Xander Bogaerts has done this season is he really established himself early in his career and being able to go to the opposite field, being able to hit the outside pitch. And so pitchers really started to come way in on him. And that's probably the biggest adjustment he has made, is shown that he can hit that pitch. And that's what he did last night. This pitch about 10.5 inches off the plate inside, about a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. And the fact that he was able to get his hands to that pitch, pretty incredible. It just shows the talent that Xander Bogaerts has. Not just hitting inside, but all pitches.
Missing away is Sabathia.
And the one thing, if your strength is away and out over the plate, when guys come in, if every now and then you kind of holler at them, as I like to say, and show some power on a pitch in, then you force pitchers to go back to your strength, which for Xander has typically been out over the plate with his ability to go the other way. I don't know how he hit that ball out.
It was incredible.
I don't think he could explain that one either.
Shouldn't that one have wound up 50 feet foul?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It usually will leave the stadium
Yep.
about 50 feet foul because of what you have to do to your body to get to that pitch.
I think his comment after the game was, "I have no business swinging at that."
Battling Sabathia, the count 2-2. 1-0 Yankees as the Red Sox bat in the bottom of the first. And a strikeout for Sabathia, 2 down.
Again, that cut fastball starts it out over the plate and cuts it to the inside corner, elevated, so it's in on the hands. This ball starts out. Xander Bogaerts probably thinks he's got a fat pitch, but look at it just cut, continue to cut and bore in on the hands and really just tie him up. Again, an important pitch to have against this really dangerous lineup as we look at the repertoire. 4 and 2 seam fastball, the slider, which we've seen, the cut fastball, which we've seen already playing a big impact, and that changeup down and away to righties will be important if he's able to get deeper into this game.
Mookie Betts moving up to the 3 spot tonight with David Ortiz not in the starting lineup. Betts leading the league in total bases, as you can see, and right up there in a number of categories. Hitting over 300. He's driven in 106 runs. This is a guy who is 5'9", 180 pounds, a 5th round pick, a former infielder who not only has become a great hitter but has become a great right fielder and has meant an incredible amount to this team this year. And John Farrell, every time we do a Red Sox game and we talk to him, talks about how hard he works, how driven he is to get better and better. And a little bit worried about him getting tired in the month of September. And he said the problem is when things don't go well for Mookie Betts, the only thing he knows how to do is work harder. And if he's a little bit tired, that's not going to fix it. But that's just the way this guy's wired.
Well, you heard Buster in the open talk about Hanley Ramirez. On the flip side, only take 1 or 2 swings, and if he knows he's good, he swings. Mookie is the exact opposite. He's got to take 50, 60, sometimes 70 swings before he can feel good before every game.
Guys, last year at the All-Star break, Mookie Betts didn't feel good about his swing. He went home to Nashville and took batting practice throughout the All-Star break.
And he finished off last year incredibly well. Hit .389 in the month of September. Struggling a little bit here this September, but still the overall numbers are phenomenal for Mookie Betts this year. Here's the 2-2 from Sabathia, and he shoots one the other way, a base hit. Betts now 5 for 9 in his career against Sabathia. That brings up one of the big stars of this series for the Red Sox. Hanley Ramirez hit the walk-off home run to straightaway center on Thursday night. Homered again on Friday. And how about his numbers? 26 homers and 102 RBIs. His career high in RBIs is 106. Set that with the Marlins back in 2009. And over the last 32 games, he has driven in 40 runs to lead all major leaguers.
Well, it helps when you get to hit behind a hot Dustin Pedroia, Mookie Betts, David Ortiz. But he has come up time and time again in big situations, especially of late, and more often than not delivered big.
Lines the ball into center field. That's a base hit. Betts around second, on his way to third, will beat the throw.
If you look at the location of where this pitch is, this has been Hanley's bread and butter, being able to take anything middle away and stay through the ball, being able to drive this ball so hard. If you think about the exit velocity off of Hanley Ramirez's bat, especially what you mentioned, Dan, the last 32 games, look at how hard he hits this pitch, and this is what he has done so well. So whether it's him getting that right angle to be able to hit it out of the park, or right there just getting even with the ball to get himself a double.
And Big Papi liking that ball coming off the bat. Liking that exit velocity on that base hit to center. First and third, 2 down for Chris Young. John Farrell told us before the game they went down and had a meeting with Hanley Ramirez in January down in Florida as Young steps in. It was about playing first base. It was about losing weight. They sent him home last year and said lose 15 pounds over the winter. And when they were down there in Florida in January, he was working out at a facility, and John Farrell said, like, this was not for guys who were kind of half-weighing it to get back in shape. This was serious. Major League players, NFL players were all down there, and everybody you talk to about Hanley Ramirez says getting back into the infield has been a huge key for him. He's more engaged, he's more involved, he's more accountable than he has been in the past. He's had a reputation for maybe not being the greatest teammate at times, but John Farrell says, there's a pretty good guy in there, and that's all come out this year. And between the accountability and being a better teammate and the conditioning, he's having as good a year maybe as he's ever had.
And less pressure. And that's another thing John Farrell mentioned is you look at a lot of numbers of guys who sign big contracts their first year compared to their second year. And he's like, that's what this city does. It puts a ton of pressure on guys to perform in a way that they've never been able to experience before. David Price, the first half of the season, we could argue the same for Pablo Sandoval last season as well. Rick Porcello. I mean, there's a lot of guys that come in big contracts, and now we're seeing the Hanley Ramirez that was signed originally by this Red Sox franchise.
1-2 the count on Young. And a swing and a miss. Sabathia will get him, and the Red Sox will leave a couple of men on. We're at the end of an inning, and the Yankees lead 1-0. To Boston, the Yankees trying to salvage the final game of this 4-game series and improve what fleeting postseason chances they still may have after losing the first 3 games of this series. They're 3.5 out of the second wild card right now. They lead 1-0 on an RBI single by Didi Gregorius. This is Donovan Solano, who had a very good year at AAA, spent some time with the Marlins in recent years. Was just brought up to the big leagues by the Yankees today because of the hamstring injury suffered yesterday by Starlin Castro. Castro was legging out a double, and halfway between first and second grabbed for that right hamstring, and it didn't look good. Yankees are hopeful they might get him back, but in the meantime Solano was up to play some second as he flies out. You watch him out of the box, everything looks fine, everything looks fine, everything looks fine, and then bam, right there. And I mean, he made it into second, but he barely was able to, and there was no conversation. You could see right away that this was going to result in him coming out of the game and missing some time. And for Joe Girardi, you can't focus on what you don't have, but man, between what they've traded away and the injuries they've suffered, they don't have a lot right now. And it was really a remarkable 37-game stretch. Whoever would have thought the Yankees would go 24-13 after the trade deadline, but now they've lost since then. They've lost 6 of their last 7.
Yeah, it was remarkable. And I think the one thing, because when they traded Chapman, when they traded Miller, when they traded Beltran, because they were still on the outskirts of the wild card race, they did get some people back that they knew could still help them. Tyler Clippard, Adam Warren, guys. So the bullpen's been viable for the most part. And we've seen Gary Sanchez come up and be arguably the most impactful player in the game for the time since he's been up in the big leagues. You couple that with contributions throughout the lineup, and they've been on a really nice little run before this week.
Mason Williams is the batter. He was brought up to the big leagues when Aaron Judge went on the DL with an oblique injury that's going to knock him out for the rest of the season, and he strikes out for the second out of the inning. Well, back at the beginning of the year, there were so many more veterans and so many more recognizable names, but Chapman, Miller, Beltran, and Nova were all traded. Alex Rodriguez was released. It's the beginning of the next era, if you will, for the New York Yankees, yet they have managed to stay in contention this year, which I think almost has to be considered a bonus, if you will. Those trades were about the future, not the present. The present until the last week was pretty promising for the Yankees. But again, they've dug themselves a bit of a hole here this weekend in Boston. Best and the most durable pitchers over the last 15 years. Runner-up for Rookie of the Year with the Indians in 2001. Won the Cy Young Award in 2007. Traded to Milwaukee. Pitched great down the stretch. Led them into the postseason in 2008. The ALCS MVP with a couple of wins over the Angels in 2009. And only Bartolo Colon has won more games amongst all active pitchers. CC Sabathia with 222 wins and 2 more strikeouts tonight, giving him, I believe, 2,723 in his career. I'm wrong, 2,713. But if he gets 10 more tonight, then he'll have 2,723. You know, if you think back to the beginning of the season, too, the Yankees had Masahiro Tanaka, who's still in the rotation. They had Nathan Eovaldi, who's since gone down with an injury. They had Ivan Nova, who's now a Pittsburgh Pirate. And they had Michael Pineda, who went to the bullpen and is now back in the rotation. It was actually between Sabathia and Nova battling for the 5th spot in the rotation. Sabathia had no guarantees coming into the year about where or even if he would be in the rotation coming into this season. But he did enough to get into the rotation, and although he had a rough stretch in the middle, mean, listen, he's signed for next year for big money, and the way he's pitched this year, he figures to be in the rotation again next season.
And I think we've seen him evolve this year of learning how to pitch with less stuff. He's always, for the bulk of his career, been such a dominant left-handed pitcher. Now with some of the injuries he's had and just getting up there in age, he's really learned how to pitch. The cut fastball there has been a huge factor for him, having to pitch more on both sides of the plate now. But look, he's got a chance at a 180 inning season. He's around that 4 earned run average. I think he's been rejuvenated a little bit and feels like he maybe has a lot more in the tank because of, I feel like he's discovered how to pitch with less stuff now.
The name I neglected to mention was Luis Severino, who was in the rotation at the beginning of the year. They were hoping for him to maybe be the number 2 guy. He's now in the bullpen. So it came down to Sabathia and Nova battling out for the 5th spot. And here is CC, who has made it through the entire season in the rotation for the Yankees.
Well, I think, too, the biggest difference for Sabathia, besides, evolving and throwing a pitch that he hasn't thrown a lot in that cut fastball, is also being able to give in to batters, which has been so mentally tough for CC Sabathia, and having more walks this season, which usually isn't a good thing, but for him it has been because he isn't trying to just pound the strike zone. He's okay living on the edges.
Well, he knows he can't just rear back and challenge guys as much as he used to. So sometimes, because he is living on the edges and nibbling a little bit more, sometimes in certain situations it means putting a guy on.
A 2-2 to Hill, and he'll foul it off. Let's go down to Buster.
Yeah, and he's rejuvenated to the point that when I spoke with him yesterday and asked him, look, do you foresee continuing pitching after your Yankee contract is up at the end of next year? He was saying, absolutely, I'm going to pitch as long as I'm healthy. And when I'm a free agent, I'm going to look for an opportunity to win. He has the best rate of soft contact among all pitchers in the American League, 24.2%.
And if you think soft contact is just something that, say, sabermetricians talk about and not baseball people, Joe Girardi mentioned it to us in his office before the game, thinking there's been a little bit of bad luck for CC. Talked about a ball Nolan Reimold hit that squibbed into foul territory, came back fair, wound up for a hit. The next guy hits a 3-run homer there. The Yankees seem to be cautiously encouraged, if you will, by the way that Sabathia has held up, and especially here at the end of the season is starting to pitch better again. Larry Rothschild, longtime pitching coach for the Yankees, looking on. They're up 1-0 in the bottom of the second. 2-2 ground ball to third, charged by Torres, dug out at first by Butler for out number 2. More postseason impact games coming your way. It's the hunt for October, and Tuesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2, we've got the Giants and the Dodgers. The Dodgers trying to win the division again. The Giants fighting for their postseason lives right now. Red Sox and Orioles in the Wild American League East Wednesday night at 7 Eastern. And then the second game Wednesday, the Giants and Dodgers again. And a tribute to Vin Scully during that game, featuring interviews and great moments from his 67 years as the Dodgers play-by-play announcer. And we'll listen into the Dodgers broadcast during the 4th inning to hear the incomparable Vin Scully call an inning. Of course, Vin is hanging it up at the end of the year. He began broadcasting games at the age of 22 when the Dodgers were the Brooklyn Dodgers, and when guys like Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese were playing for the Dodgers. Jackie Bradley Jr. takes inside, a ball and a strike. Humble to a fault, but as good as there's ever been, the best there will ever be calling a baseball. And he debuted in 1950, and will hang up the microphone, if you will, at the end of the regular season this year.
I think a lot of us that are baseball fans, and I grew up listening to games on the radio, watching games on TV, and Vin Scully was such a soundtrack in many cases for that. But it's been neat to see all the different people that have stopped by to meet him, to see him, to take pictures with him. David Ortiz, when Boston was in LA a little while ago, went up and took a picture with him just to be around him.
A good inning for Sabathia. End of 2 and the Yankees lead 1-0. Race into baseball this year, and right now the Red Sox lead it. They've been playing very well lately. They've won the first 3 over the Yankees. They're now 2.5 up on the Baltimore Orioles in the American League East. The Orioles got home runs today for Manny Machado and Mark Trumbo, who's Major League leading 43rd, 2-1 win over Tampa Bay. So they're 2.5 back of Boston at the moment. The Blue Jays, after winning the first 2 of their series against the Angels, lost the last 2. So they are 3.5 back in the division and heading to Seattle, another team with the playoffs on its mind before they get back into divisional play. Right now, both Baltimore and Toronto are in the playoffs. You could have 3 American League East teams make the playoffs. The Tigers and Mariners are 2 back of the Blue Jays. Houston's 3 back. The Yankees 3.5 back. It would be impressive if 3 teams from that division made the playoffs, because that's the best division in baseball. If you add up all the win-loss records of all the teams, the American League East has the best overall winning percentage in baseball. Obviously, schedules are unbalanced. So when you look at some of the other teams like the Tigers and Mariners, they have an easier closing couple of weeks than teams like the Orioles and the Blue Jays.
Well, and all these American League East teams now playing each other down the stretch. And, you know, as we've seen, the Tampa Bay Rays just aren't your typical last place team. They can absolutely, especially because they have the potential to shut you down from a pitching standpoint. So there's no easy games left really for these teams from the American League East.
Tampa Bay's got one of the best ERAs in the American League since the All-Star break. They throw a good arm out at you every single night. After this series, the Yankees are headed down to Tampa. They'll start the series there. The Red Sox are headed to Baltimore to start a series there. And the Blue Jays, as we mentioned, are headed to Seattle.
And I like that series. I feel like the Mariners have just been that sneaky team way far yonder out in Seattle people forget about, but they've shown signs of a team that could definitely be in playoff contention, especially if the AL East teams beat up on each other.
Smoke down to third, and Aaron Hill spins and fires to get Brett Gardner.
Well, Aaron Hill acquired at the deadline to add depth to provide a right-handed bat against left-handed pitching. This is another rocket off the bat of Brett Gardner. Kind of a long hop that Hill does a very good job of using the dive to create a more easy hop for him. Once he handles that, he knows he's just got to get to his feet and fire.
Here's Ronald Torreyes. First pitch swinging. Ground ball to short. Bogart's charging and gets him by a half step. 2 good defensive plays.
Well, and that's another area where, you know, you look at this Red Sox team and it's very sound defensively. Up the middle with Bogarts and Pedroia. Sandy Leon, their everyday catcher, now not in there tonight. Very good behind the plate. But Bogarts, with that good internal clock, gets around that ball good, works through the short hop, and turns it into an easy play. But then you think about Jackie Bradley Jr. in center and Mookie Betts out and right. This is a very good defensive team and starting to round into a very complete team for the Red Sox.
Gary Sanchez, the batter, with 2 outs with the bases empty, top of the 3rd. The Yankees up 1-0. And he rips one down the left field line, a rocket for home run number 16. As he continues to hit the ball about as hard as anybody in baseball here in his rookie season.
Well, this is where if you don't command the fastball, and I think this was the cut fastball trying to get in on the hands of Gary Sanchez, but look at Holiday reach back over the heart of the plate, and he absolutely cuts that thing in half. A no-doubter out in a hurry to left field. Wow.
That is career home run number 16, also 16 on the season. He had 2 at-bats last year. So Gary Sanchez now has 158 career at-bats, 16 home runs in his first 158 career at-bats. You know how many players in history have done that? 1. Wally Berger in 1930. As this one got out on the blink of an eye, much to the delight of that Yankee fan up in left field there. Wally Berger in 1930, 16 homers and 148 at-bats. Sanchez has now done it in 158. Next on the list, Mark McGwire, 160. Shane Spencer, who was a Yankee, did it in 161 at-bats.
Come on, big country. Who wants some pancakes? Just some pancakes.
The 1-2 to Billy Butler, and he fouls it off to stay alive.
Guys, the sound down here on the field of him making contact and then that ball rocketing off that tarp covering that sign. That was unbelievable how fast it got out of here.
Would have been on the turnpike if that sign wasn't up there.
I think you're right.
Boy, do the Yankees have to be excited about what they've seen from him. As Butler lines a ball into center field, a base hit. He just keeps swinging it well for the Yankees here this series.
Well, and you think about some of the left-handers, not only that they faced this weekend in Boston with Price and Pomerantz, but down the stretch they'll be facing some left-handed pitching. So that's why the Yankees jumped on the opportunity to pick up Butler just to add another bat to this lineup as they cling to their playoff lives.
And again, as badly as things have gone for the Yankees, losers of 6 of their last 7. If they win this game, they're 3 games out of the second wild card spot. And granted, they have to pass a bunch of teams to get there. But as Joe Girardi said, they're playing 2 of the teams they're looking to catch in Toronto and Baltimore. And everybody who's competing for a playoff spot is struggling at times right now.
Yeah, and numbers wise, when you're 3 and 4 games back with only 2 weeks to go, it is a uphill climb. It's a long way to go. It's more than I feel like it sounds.
There's a ball ripped into right center off the bat of Gregorius, his second hit of the game. On his way to third is Butler, long single for Gregorius, and it's first and third, 2 down.
But in that situation, you want to be playing the teams that you're chasing. That's really becomes your only chance. As another hard hit ball from Didi Gregorius. We saw him jump on a breaking ball to drive in the first run. This time he gets a fastball out over the plate. But here's that defense showing up for the Red Sox. You see Jackie Bradley get a great break on that ball, cut that ball off. So because he cuts it off, Butler has no chance of scoring, and he keeps Didi Gregorius from getting to second base. A good play out there in the Red Sox outfield.
Carl Willis, the pitching coach, out to the mound to talk with Drew Pomerantz. Let's go down to Buster Olney.
Guys, a few days ago, Major League Baseball announced that San Diego general manager A.J. Preller received what is essentially an unprecedented 30-day suspension without pay for the Padres' actions in a trade made between the Padres and the Red Sox. Major League Baseball determined that the Padres had knowingly kept 2 sets of medical records. One was presented to the Major League Baseball Central Bank. The other one was kept in-house. And so when the Red Sox traded for Pomerantz, they didn't know some of the specifics about his treatment. That's why Major League Baseball came down hard on A.J. Preller.
And even worse with the Marlins. Colin Ray had to be returned to the Padres from the Marlins, and a pitcher, Luis Castillo, went back the other way to nullify that portion of that trade, the Andrew Cashner deal. I don't know about you guys. I mean, this is not something you hear every day. I was, for what it's worth, I was surprised there were no loss of draft picks or something really punitive on the Padres.
It makes me kind of angry because now you've got to throw in another layer of rules, another layer of regulations, because especially at the trade deadline, when you're working against the clock and things need to move quickly.
McCann lifts one down the left field line, but it winds up foul.
You need to be able to trust the information that's out there, and when some teams are doing it in frankly a shady kind of a way, it's frustrating, and now it makes everyone on their guard instead of being able to trust who you're dealing with, which is what these, for the most part, these guys want to feel.
No balls, 2 strikes, the count on McCann. Runners at first and third, 2 down. Shift on for the Red Sox.
Well, and the precedents that it sets when you think about if it's just a 30-day suspension during a time of year where there really isn't a whole lot happening for A.J. Preller, and you think about what you would want it to set to pretty much put it out there in baseball. This is not okay, and you will be penalized. It will hurt for you to have 2 separate records. And think about the position that the trainers were in. The fact that they were told to basically lie and their jobs were in jeopardy.
McCann with a bouncer to the left side. Hill, the flip to Bogarts covering to end the inning. But the Yankees get another run, and guess who did guess what? Gary Sanchez goes deep again, no doubt about it. Number 16 on the season for the rookie. And the Yankees, led by their baby bomber, Gary Sanchez, have a 2-0 lead on the Red Sox. Presented by Taco Bell. Bottom of the third at Fenway Park with Jess Mendoza, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. I'm Dan Schulman. A 2-0 lead for the desperately in need of a win New York Yankees. Gary Sanchez has homered again. And CC Sabathia looks sharp as he starts Brian Holiday with a pitch just above the knees for a called strike. Holiday has worked well with Drew Pomerantz in some recent starts, so that's why he's in there tonight catching Pomerantz, although it's not going all that well for Pomerantz so far tonight. Sandy Leon has been a revelation behind the plate for the Red Sox this year. A guy who came into this season with a career sub-200 major league batting average, has hit well over 300 all season long, is hitting for power, and went from the number 4 catcher back in the spring to the number 1 catcher here through much of the season.
and has always been known for his defense. So, you know, you're getting a frontline defensive catcher, but now you're getting the offensive upside that he's providing. I think now one of the decisions, assuming the Red Sox go on to the postseason, is kind of figuring out who is going to be that backup catcher. You got Holiday and you've got Hannigan, kind of both vying for that job.
1-2 on the way. Way outside. After Holiday, back to the top of the order for Dustin Pedroia and Xander Bogaerts. Soft liner into right, a base hit. Getting you ready for tomorrow night, our Week 2 Monday Night Football matchup, as the Eagles with rookie quarterback Carson Wentz taking on Jay Cutler and the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, 8:15 Eastern Time here on ESPN. Our coverage begins with a Monday Night Countdown at 6, also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
You know where Wentz plays, right? For Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You know what state that's in?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, no.
When did you put that one in your back pocket and decide you were bringing it out?
The best is he was staring at you.
Oh, yeah.
He was kind of freaking me out because he was just like this, like
Yeah.
he couldn't wait to tell you.
I know.
I got it from Peter Pasquarelli earlier this morning.
Well, he's a Philly guy.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of football, David Ortiz had a little fun earlier today. Prior to the Dolphins and the Patriots game, he accepted an offer from Robert Kraft.
He is a rock star.
He's got a big poppy Patriots jersey, and he's out there at Gillette for the opening coin toss. He was the honorary captain.
Ryan Tannenhill was sizing him up there.
Off Sabathia, bounces to Torreyes at third, throw to first in time to get Pedroia. Holiday to second, and Cece's waving off the dugout already, saying I'm okay. So it got him, I think, in the left leg.
Yeah, caught him in the thigh there. Another laser off the bat of Dustin Pedroia. It looks like he's kind of fooled on it, but he's able to get the barrel to the bat as he does often. A good job by Torreyes of calmly picking that up, understanding he still had time, throwing strong on the first. Cece just look out. Aye.
Sabathia okay. Runner at second, one out for Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts struck out his first time up. Red Sox down 2-0 as they bat here in the bottom of the third. Bogaerts will look at a strike. The Red Sox came into the game tonight having scored 101 more runs than the Cleveland Indians, who entered play today second in the American League in runs scored. This is prior to Cleveland's game today against the Tigers, in which they lost 9-5. They're 101 runs better than anybody else in the American League. Their run differential, as you can see, is plus 175. That is second in baseball to who else? The Chicago Cubs. And it may be a team that is peaking at the right time. The bullpen, and we'll talk about this later in the game, has gotten a lot better in recent weeks. The offense obviously has been relentless all season long. David Price, yesterday notwithstanding, is pitching very well. Rick Porcello's a 20-game winner. A lot of it may come down to guys like Drew Pomeranz or Eduardo Rodriguez or Clay Buchholz, who's back in the rotation. The 3, 4, 5 guys and what they can do to help out the likes of Price and Porcello.
And now that their bullpen is better, there hasn't been the pressure for them to go as long into the games, which was really a problem about a month ago for a lot of the starting pitchers. Was 5 innings wasn't enough.
Well, Koji Uehara coming back has meant everything, because he now, especially looks like pitching the way that he is, he's looking like the guy we've seen over the last several seasons for the Red Sox. And now if he's all of a sudden handles the 8th inning, obviously you've got Kimbrel for the 9th, but now guys like Ziegler, guys like Ross, guys like Joe Kelly have stepped up in those kind of 6th, 7th inning roles where they match up best. All of a sudden the bullpen, which was such an issue, is starting to become a strength.
Now to back by Bogaerts.
There's Joe Kelly, who's
Relaxing.
really struggled as a starter, but since going to the bullpen, he's had a little bit of an impact and given them some real good innings in the middle. So you see the best bullpen ERA in the month of September, and a big reason why they've had such a good month thus far.
Crowd rooting on Bogaerts here as he battles Sabathia. Again the 2-2. Sent down the right field line, but foul.
He's missed a couple times trying to get inside to Xander Bogaerts, and he's been offsetting that with the backdoor slider that he'll throw away to these righties that kind of curves around that outside part of the plate. Xander's seen 2 of them. The first one was for a strike, the first pitch of this at bat. So I don't know if he's going to go back to that slider and try to backdoor him, or if he'll try to really get in on his hands.
Just outside, and it's a full count.
And that's the pitch right there. That backdoor slider. 3rd time he's thrown it to Xander Bogaerts in this at bat. We're talking a difference of an inch. And you see how it started way away. That's why Xander said no. Ends up just off the plate, but it gets it on black, and that's strike 3.
Big pitch coming here with Mookie Betts waiting on deck. Missed outside again. So 2 men on with a 1 out for one of the best in the game this year. Mookie Betts hitting over 300. He's driven in over 100 runs. He's got 30 homers. He's got 24 steals. He's playing Gold Glove defense in right field. Getting better and better all the time. Pretty good company. You make your way into a Ted Williams graphic, you're having a decent year.
Especially when it's just the 2 of you.
Yeah. A chance to do some damage, produce some runs here as he looks at a strike.
And he's been great in these situations. 362 with runners in scoring position. Why he's got over 100 RBIs, even spending much of the season in the leadoff position. He's been great in these spots.
A little bit inside.
That's a great example, though, of Sabathia. You've got Betts and Ramirez coming up, so it's not that he's pitching around Bogaerts. I mean, the last thing he wants to do is put a bunch of base runners on for these 2 guys, especially as hot as Ramirez is. But the willingness or not willing to give in to hitters, knowing that his success is predicated on him commanding the corners.
Bouncer to second. There's 1, and that's all they'll get.
Well, I don't know if they were going to have a play, as this was kind of slow developing, and because the pitch is away, Mookie Betts gets out of the box really good and with good speed, as you can imagine. It was going to be a real tough turn, and as quick as Solano had to get rid of this, it's kind of a handcuffs Gregorius a little bit. I don't think he really gets it out of his glove real clean, and a good choice to just hang on to that ball with the speedy Mookie Betts busting down the line.
So the end result is a fielder's choice, and 1st and 3rd, 2 down for Hanley Ramirez. And Ramirez is having himself quite a series at the expense of the Yankees. The hit he had in the 1st inning tonight is the first hit he's ever had against CC Sabathia after being 0 for 10 coming into the game. Hitting about .350 this year against lefties, and has already driven in 102 runs on the season.
And you cannot give in to him in this spot. He's too hot. he's too hot from a power standpoint with a couple runners out there, even though you've got Chris Young on deck, who's really hit left-handed pitching well, over 350. Hanley Ramirez is just too locked in to not pitch him carefully in this situation.
I said last time he was up talking about maybe having as good a year as he's ever had. Now, when he was a young player with the then Florida Marlins, and Aaron, you were with him for a year then, he was a different kind of a player. He had a couple of years where he stole 51 bases, and in one of those years he also hit 29 home runs.
That's the year I played with him. 332, 48 doubles, 6 triples, 29 homers, and 51 stolen bases. He was
That's incredible.
An animal. I mean, could fly, lightning in his hands. It was fun to watch. As talented a guy as I've ever played with, and I found him to be a really good teammate too.
This year has stayed healthy, again has been engaged, and has swung the bat extremely well, especially recently. If he's not surrounded by Betts and Ortiz, he's getting a lot more attention for what he's done this year.
Absolutely, and I also like, though, to Booney's point earlier, the way CC is absolutely not giving in this at bat to Hanley. I mean, he's digging deeper and literally not on the plate, whether it's his back door away or coming in hard and off the plate where Hanley is swung and fouled off. Now actually Hanley just backed off the plate a little bit, saying, all right, I see what you're doing.
They're making CC work. Here's his 59th pitch. Most RBIs since 2009, most home runs since 2008. And that moment on Thursday night, anybody who was in the ballpark, any Red Sox fan, felt that that was the high point of the season, and they've had a lot of them. That come from behind win in the 9th inning against the Yankees on Thursday culminated with the 3-run homer that Hanley Ramirez hit off Dellin Betances.
And I think you've got to either work the ball down and away off the plate or come hard in on the hands with that cut fastball. I think you're playing with fire if you mess with anything on the outer half of the plate in this situation. That's where he's been hurting teams, and that's what he's absolutely got covered if you make a mistake there.
The 2-2. Got him over the outside corner.
What a pitch.
Hanley doesn't like it. Sabathia painting the outside edge with strike 3 called. His 4th strikeout of the night as the Red Sox leave a couple of men on. About 4 moments ago, we had a chance to visit with the Yankee manager Joe Girardi. Joe, he did it again. Another home run for Gary
Yeah.
Sanchez. What can you say about this young man?
You know, it's been pretty special to watch. I've seen him hit home runs to left, center, to right, every pitch, breaking balls, cutters, change-ups. It's been special to watch.
Huge backdoor slider by CeCe there. What are you seeing from him so far, Joe?
You know, I mean, he's pitching, and he's using all his pitches. It looks like his fastball's pretty good tonight. His sinker's been pretty good. It looks like he's cutting his fastball in on some of these righties. And, you know, they're making him work, but he's kept him in check so far.
Joe, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
CeCe Sabathia with 3 shutout innings so far in this game. The Red Sox have left 4 men on against him, 3 hits and a walk. Joe Girardi has been steadfast in his feeling. You're in it until you're mathematically out of it, and he understands the odds are long and that they've got to get on a streak, but refusing to give up hope that the Yankees going to be a postseason team this year. And you can't blame him. You got to like his determination and his optimism. And again, if they win tonight, as bad as things have gone, they're 3 games out of the second wild card spot.
And he definitely deserves some of that credit. You think about just the emotional roller coaster that he's had to deal with, and so much that's happened throughout the season, but also just the chess playing of so many different players, new guys that he hasn't really seen, and being able to figure out how to best utilize them.
Well, and I think Cashman did a really nice job in doing the necessary and making the trades of Chapman, Miller, Beltran to really start to remake this team and get younger and build up the farm system, which is now a strength of this organization.
Up the third baseline, hugging the line, staying fair. It's a base hit for Solano.
Well, that's one of those where you should know, especially as the home third baseman, that the way this ball's going to roll once it's on the line, and you can see that ball just kind of work back to fair territory. A lot of places you'll go and that ball will just roll off into foul territory. That's one of the things you usually do before a series if you're the visiting player, to learn how that ball's going to roll. You see that thing just stay fair. There probably wasn't going to be a chance for Hill. That's why he let it go in the first place. His only chance was hoping it went foul.
So the batter now is Mason Williams. He struck out his first time up.
But getting back to Cashman, but understanding that they were still somewhat in the playoff hunt. So to be able to get back veteran key guys in Clippard, Adam Warren, to add to Betances at the back end, they still had a chance to close out victories that they should have. So you remake the roster without completely surrendering, and it's why they've hung around.
Williams, 25 years of age, 4th round pick of the Yankees back in 2010. Spent a little bit of time with them last year. Suffered a shoulder injury last season, underwent surgery that cost him the end of last year and a good chunk of the beginning of this season. And again, called up because Aaron Judge, who hit some long home runs but by and large struggled to make contact for the Yankees, he went on the DL with a season-ending oblique injury, as Williams is thinking about bunting his way aboard, but he pushes it foul. Usually if you're a young player in the Yankee system, you might not hold out a whole lot of hope that you're going to get a look at the big league level, but this year it's completely the opposite of that. If you were in Scranton Wilkes-Barre, chances are you were in the Bronx at some point this year.
Especially after what happened yesterday with Starlin Castro and Jacoby Ellsbury, and kind of the unknown of when they're going to be able to return. That's 2 more key players that now for the Rob Refsnyders and the Mason Williams have more of an opportunity to play.
1-2, down and away, and smothered by Holiday.
Well, and no matter what happens going forward with the Yankees this year, Dan, they have successfully begun the transition into next year, and all these young players who are being used now, including Gary Sanchez, they're gaining from this, and it'll better position the Yankees for next year. Big question is going to be that rotation.
It'll be interesting to see how much of a player they are in the free agent market. It is not a deep free agent class, and whether the Yankees kind of sit tight, relatively speaking, for a couple of years until the free agent class gets better, or whether they try to kind of roar back into contention right in 2017.
There are going to be some interesting guys out there in the trade market, like Chris Sale, and now with a restocked farm system, the Yankees can at least be in those conversations in a way that they couldn't be before this year's trade deadline.
3-2. And a swing of the ball, well hit to left center field, and this is going to hit the monster on the fly. Solano on his way to third will be held there. Throw to second, and safe at second. And a head-first slide is Mason Williams. And Xander Bogaerts and Dustin Pedroia both want to have the dugout have a look at that one.
Well, the ball's hit very well by Mason Williams. It's another outstanding play by Jackie Bradley Jr. And I actually think Pedroia gets a little lost as to where he is. If he goes straight down to the bag, he's probably got him for sure.
He's got him. I think he's got him anyway.
It's close anyway, but as Pedroia kind of leaves to go catch the ball, instead of going straight down to the bag, he goes after the runner, and it's debatable whether that hand gets into the before that tag.
They are going to have a look at it. Was the tag on the left arm before the hand got to the bag? It was Bogaerts who was the most vocal about it. He was watching the play about wanting the dugout to check.
Well, it's because the throw beats him. So I think for a lot that are watching it with the naked eye, see that the throw gets there before the runner. And as Booney just mentioned, Pedroia having to reach across the bag. I think his hand gets in.
So the ruling on the field is safe. So do they have conclusive evidence to overturn it and call him out?
I don't think they do. I think the hand may actually get in there before, but I think it's impossible to tell exactly when he makes contact with the elbow, and are those fingers or hands on the base. I don't think you can overturn this.
But what a play by Jackie Bradley Jr. I mean, for him to be able to react so quickly and know the wall. I mean, that was the best part about that play, is the fact that he knew it was going to ricochet and reacted perfectly. And this is the advantage that you have of being in your home park. You see a lot of guys that go after a ball hit that hard and it usually ricochets off. And he slowed down because he knew exactly where it was going to end up, and just a bullet down to second base.
Bradley's already got 12 outfield assists on the season. Certainly will get a lot of consideration for the Gold Glove in center field. This is a long review. Headsets are coming off. Safe. So the call is upheld. So second and third with nobody out, and the Yankees looking to extend their 2-0 lead. Number 9 hitter Rob Refsnyder is the batter. Refsnyder starting in right field tonight, grounded out his first time up. Red Sox are going to bring the infield in on the corners. Anyway, the middle infielders are maybe 2-3 steps behind the baseline right now.
So anything hit hard to the middle infield, and they will come home with it. But if it's a slower developing play, they'll probably just go on to first. But while also, by playing a little bit back, don't completely surrender the range. We'll see where Pedroia, as he creeps in now, does he remain there?
And Bogaerts backs up a couple of steps at short, so to the pull side a little bit deeper.
Well, and I think with Pedroia coming in there, because you have this situation, Refsnyder who can handle the bat, you don't want to just give him like a push bunt or something over there where he can move 2 runners up essentially. So I think that plays into Pedroia coming in. You saw him motion to Bogaerts, hey, I got to prepare for the push bunt.
And now Pomeranz falls behind 3-0. And the bullpen getting busy. Right-hander Heath Hembree has started to throw. Ball 4 to load the bases with nobody out. And they're getting restless here at Fenway Park. John Farrell's got his bullpen busy, and he's going to send his pitching coach out to buy some time.
Well, we've talked about Pomeranz struggling with his command. Look how that foot gets down and his arm hasn't got into the good release spot yet, and that's led to his command really leaving him his last couple of starts. And routinely tonight, we've either seen him outside the zone or a lot of pitches in the heart of the plate, and that lack of command has cost him a couple runs and now has him in serious trouble here as the top of the order comes up now for the Yankees.
As we mentioned off the top of the show, he has had some good outings for the Red Sox. He's had a number of outings in which he's given up only 1 or 2 earned runs, but he's also had 3 with the Red Sox in just 11 starts in which he's allowed 5 earned runs. And he's in a whole mess of trouble right now, down 2-0. The bases are loaded for the Yankees with Solano at third, Williams at second, Refsnyder at first, nobody out in the inning. And the batter is Brett Gardner, who is 1 for 2 tonight, doubled and scored back in the first, and has had a lot of success with the bases loaded this year. If you're Joe Girardi, you got to feel like you need more, and then once you get more, you need even more, because they've let some leads slip away, and given how good this Red Sox offense has been this year, and a couple of come from behind wins already in this series. They'd love to get that guy to the plate in a key spot this inning. He's already homered. Outside corner, 1-1.
Pretty well located fastball here. A little bit of a generous call on that outside corner as K-Zone shows it just off the edge. And a big pitch after falling behind for Pomeranz, who has again struggled with that command, especially the fastball command.
Breaking ball grounded weakly to second. The tag, and that's all they'll get. It'll be a fielder's choice and an RBI for Gardner. Not much else that Pedroia could do right there, and it's 3-0 Yankees.
Well, you know Gardner's running down the line, so it's going to be impossible for Pedroia to turn a conventional 4-6-3. Pedroia does a good job of charging this, and he wants to get the runner to stop his momentum. And then if he does this perfectly, he probably releases it right there, gets the out at first, and then maybe they're able to get Refsnyder in a rundown. But because it's Gardner who hits it, he's got to make that decision real quick, and Gardner getting down the line fast probably made it too difficult by the time Refsnyder stopped that momentum.
So 3-0 Yankees, and here's Ronald Torreyes. And he bunts right through it. On deck, Gary Sanchez, who homered his last time up. His remarkable run continues. Now 16 home runs in 41 games this season. Hembry ready if needed in the bullpen. Breaking ball, bouncer to third. Runner has to hold. Throw to second. Now coming home. Safe at the plate. And it's 4-0 Yankees. And again, the Red Sox are wondering if the call on the field was the right one.
Well, this is almost a great play. It's a great job by Hill of getting the lead runner, and then Pedroia. Did he scoop that ball realizing that he left for home plate? And I don't know if Holiday catches him on that thigh. If he does, he's out. Does he catch him here going by? It's an outstanding slide, and I think he's definitely safe there. Great job by Mason Williams, who legged out a double, and now with an excellent aggressive slide away from the tag of Holiday, gets another run here for the Yankees.
So Williams with an interesting trip around the bases. It's now 4-0 New York. That is the end of the night for Drew Pomerantz. Heath Hembree coming in from the bullpen. Gary Sanchez coming up for the Yankees. Out now up 4-0 on the Red Sox. Time now for Bringing It Home, brought to you by Quicken Loans.
Well, Gary Sanchez, and what he did his last at bat is just crushed a fastball. Tried to get down the inner half. No doubt about it. This golf ball got out of the park. Probably a step and a half into Gary Sanchez's trot. He knew it was out first thing, and he has just been a beast since getting called up in early August. 16 home runs, second fastest, and 158 at bats to reach 16 career home runs since 1900.
Heath Hembree into the ball game for the Red Sox.
Part of that middle inning relief here. It's a little deeper now. It's been a nice season for Hembree, and he's been very good against right-handed hitters. Just a 207 average. Fastball in the mid-90s, slider and curveball. On to get a tough customer here in a 4-run deficit for the Sox.
Sanchez struck out in the first, homered in the third. One note on the Williams play at the plate, although it appeared he would have been safe regardless. Worth mentioning that the Red Sox could not ask for a review of that play. They lost on the previous call. They asked for a review. It did not go their way, so they lose their appeal. 7th inning or later, you can request a review even after you've lost your challenge. But John Farrell had no such recourse at this point of the game. Although again, Williams did appear to be safe. Breaking ball down and away, a ball and a strike.
Well, the pitch that Sanchez struck out on his first at bat was a curveball, and that has been really the only vulnerability that Sanchez has shown since being brought up is on breaking balls, and Hembree's got 2 of them, the slider and his curve. The curve really been the defining pitch that's helped him with his better numbers, having that third pitch that he can go to, but I expect he'll throw it against Sanchez.
Fouled back, 1-2. So now 16 home runs for Gary Sanchez. Some saying, you know what? Maybe he should be considered for American League Rookie of the Year, even though he's got less than 2 months in the big leagues. This is only his 41st game of the season. And you've got some other worthy candidates, obviously. Michael Fulmer, the outstanding young pitcher for the Tigers, has had a great year. Tyler Naquin of the Indians, an outfielder who's had a very good season. It seems like a stretch, as incredible as Sanchez has been, to see him contending for that award.
I think Fulmer's year has just been too good for the Tigers, and I think he's clearly the guy right now in a group of rookies that has been pretty strong. There's 4 guys, including Sanchez, that are having real nice years, real nice impacts. But I think when you consider what Fulmer's been to the Tigers, well, he is the guy.
He's been one of the best in the American League amongst all pitchers, not just rookies, and I think that's why, and probably the biggest difference 4 Fulmer amongst all the hitters.
Holiday fires down to first to get Sanchez and end the inning. The Yankees, though, with 2 more, and they now lead the Red Sox 4-0, going bottom 4. Heritage Month, MLB is celebrating the many ways Latinos put an accent on baseball. Share how you put an accent. Show the accent. There's the accent right there on the game with hashtag Ponle Acento.
It's a good workout.
Good,
Sure.
good accent on your part too, Dan.
Yeah, I've been practicing all day. More than a quarter of major league rosters on opening day. Of course, baseball's got a tremendous Latino influence. More than a quarter of players on opening day rosters this year were of Latino descent. MLB's 2016 Hispanic Heritage Month celebration is the largest ever conducted by the league. And the t-shirt and the hashtag and the accent say it all. Chris Young leads off the bottom of the 4th. Yankees 4 and the Red Sox nothing. CC Sabathia's given up 3 hits and a walk through 3, but the Red Sox have left 4 men on. After Young, it'll be Travis Shaw and then Aaron Hill. Everything else is a final around baseball today. We talked to you a little bit about the American League East. Baltimore beating Tampa Bay 2-1. Mark Trumbo with his 43rd home run of the season to break a 1-1 tie.
Unbelievable. He keeps mashing too, because his home runs are not the small kind. Nope. They are huge.
And that brings the Orioles at the moment 2.5 back of the Red Sox atop the American League East.
I mean, Chris Davis, the Oakland A's Chris Davis, a little battle of the monstrous home runs they can hit in September.
Manny Machado hit one as well as 36. Wade Miley was pitching great for 4 innings, but left the game. I believe it was with a back issue, and then Buck Showalter used 5 relievers to go the rest of the way, including Zach Britton, who picked up his 45th save of the season. His ERA is 0.59 this year.
Do you consider him for the Cy Young?
I do. I don't know if I consider him the front runner, but I consider him in the conversation.
Yeah, they start a big series tomorrow, obviously. Porcello and Bundy. Bundy's been a big addition.
Strike 3 called to get Young. Here is the home run from Mark Trumbo, his 43rd. Hit it off Ryan Garten to break a tie in the 8th inning.
Loud noises.
That is a long way. Baltimore 2, Tampa Bay 1.
Anytime the ball leaves the screen, you know that it's not only hit far but high. He's got that ability to hit some serious bombs, and he's done it all season.
The Blue Jays, meanwhile, were beaten by the Angels 4-0. So after winning the first 2 games of the series, the Blue Jays were held to just 1 run combined in the last 2 games. So they fall a game back of the Orioles. They're at the moment 3.5 back of the Red Sox. They're the second wild card team right now. The team that the likes of Seattle, Detroit, Houston, and the Yankees are all thinking about catching at this moment. Seattle plays Toronto starting tomorrow. The Yankees have a 4-game series still with Toronto. Seattle's just kind of lurking. National League, the Cardinals picked up a couple of big wins over the weekend. As you get a look at the American League wild card standings, Baltimore a game up on Toronto, and the Blue Jays at the moment 2 up on Detroit and Seattle, and there are the Yankees 3.5 back.
I'm looking forward to the Dodgers and Giants. You just brought up the National League this week. Both games on 2 of the games on ESPN, and I just, those 2 teams battling it out. Even though the Dodgers have had quite a bit of a lead, but I think heading down the stretch they face each other quite a few times.
They finished the season against one another in San Francisco. Dodgers lost 10-9 in 12 innings today to Arizona. The Giants were beaten by St. Louis. St. Louis lost the first 2 games of that series with the Giants, and they came back and won the last 2. As Shaw lifts a fly ball into right center field for out number 2, and the Mets won again. The Mets, who have an easy closing schedule on paper. They beat the Twins 3-2. They've still got 7 left with the Phillies. They've got 3 left with Atlanta. So the Mets victorious again. They are a game up on the Giants, who are a game up on the Cardinals. So you've got 3 teams within 2 games, and only 2 of them can make the playoffs.
Guys, I nominate Alex Reyes of the Cardinals Major Leaguer of the Day. How about his 3rd Major League start? 7 scoreless innings in San Francisco in a must-win situation for the Cardinals.
They can put him in any situation. It is unbelievable. The mentality and obviously the stuff. I mean, but the way that we saw him, gosh, 3 or 4 weeks ago when he was in the bullpen. But the fact that they can put him back into the starting rotation this time of year, must-win situation, and for him to perform the way he did today. Circle that guy and watch him next time you see the Cardinals play.
We'll see the Cardinals play next week, this coming week.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Friday afternoon and again Sunday night. The Cardinals at Wrigley.
Gotta love a weekend on the north side.
Could be worse.
Huh? A stretch drive.
Afternoon game Friday.
Leaves are starting to think about changing colors. Good time of year.
2-0 to Aaron Hill. Just up and away, ball 3. Five strikeouts through 3 2/3 for CC Sabathia. He and the Yankees lead 4-0. And in there with a strike.
You know, we talked about CC living on the edges now and not being so concerned if he loses a guy. But this is a situation, 4-0. Behind in the count. You've already got 2 outs and nobody on. Aaron Hill, a guy you've handled in your career. This is a guy you want to challenge in this situation and not lose.
But he does lose him. Well, back to the National League playoff picture. One of our favorites. If the playoffs were to begin today, it would be the Giants at the Mets for the National League wild card game. The winner of that game would take on the team with the best record, and that, of course, is the Chicago Cubs. And unless something changes quite significantly, the Dodgers and Nationals have their eye on one another right now, though San Francisco's back within 4 games of the Dodgers right now. But it'll be a pretty interesting series. 5 games back. Sorry, both the Dodgers and the Giants lost today, so the Giants still 5 games back. So looks like the Nationals and the Dodgers are going to get to know one another in a division series. Kershaw, Scherzer, that work for anybody?
Yeah, right.
On the American League side, if things finish off the way they are right now, you would have the Blue Jays in Baltimore for the wild card game, with the winner to take on the Texas Rangers, who currently have the best record in the American League, and that would mean the Red Sox would play the Indians. Boy, the Indians have had a tough time with injuries lately. First it was Danny Salazar, now it's Carlos Carrasco, suffering a broken bone in his right hand and likely done for the season.
Yeah, because the Indians were starting to feel like that team perhaps as dangerous as anyone, especially in the American League, when you consider when Salazar and Carrasco are in that as dominant starting rotation potentially as anyone heading into the postseason. That now obviously looking like it's not going to happen, but still a pretty good offense there. Andrew Miller added to the bullpen. Kluber still going, so the American League feels a lot more wide open.
If the Blue Jays found their way into a division series with Texas, remembering back to last year and Game 5 and the bat flip, what do you think the electricity would be like in those two ballparks?
Yeah, right.
And the punch this year, Odor punching Bautista.
How about the Rangers? Best record in the American League.
Yeah.
What are they, 33-10 in one-run games?
Which I think, if it holds, is the best ever. Charging and flipping to first in time is Solano to get Bradley, and that's the inning. End of 4 at Fenway. The Yankees lead 4-0. Going top 5 at Fenway. Moments ago, Buster Olney with John Farrell.
John, what happened with Drew Pomeranz?
You know, Buster, there was a number of pitches that found the middle of the plate, elevated a little bit. You know, they found some holes. They squared some pitches up. In the end, we're looking at a four-run deficit, and as we've been doing here quite a bit lately, going to the bullpen a little bit early.
This is only Game 7 for Gary Sanchez against the Red Sox. What are you seeing in him so far?
Well, middle of the order bat, obviously. He's settled in pretty nicely. You look at the numbers he's able to put up quickly. And I think what's been most impressive, not just on the offensive side, but the way he's handled the game behind the plate. He's a good blocker, very strong throwing arm, accurate, a very good looking young player.
John, thanks.
That he is. John Farrell knows something about good looking young players. He's got a few on his team. Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley Jr. and Xander Bogaerts. Andrew Benintendi, who is back now from a knee injury that looked like it might cost him the rest of the season, but nobody has taken baseball by storm in the last month to 6 weeks like Gary Sanchez has. Billy Butler, Didi Gregorius, and Brian McCann for the Yankees here in the 5th. Butler has walked and singled, and as you can see, continues to be extremely productive in his first 4 games as a Yankee. His best years with Kansas City. Playing first base, which of course for so many years in the Bronx was the domain of Mark Teixeira, but Teixeira retiring at the end of the season, an accumulation of injuries, knee, neck, and One of the better switch hitters that the game has seen. Better than 400 home runs, better than 400 doubles. 5 Gold Glove awards. Mark Teixeira calling it a career at the end of the season. Unforgettable games, undeniable greatness, and unstoppable drama. The 2016 postseason begins October 4th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. We here at ESPN will have the National League Wild Card game for you. That will be on Wednesday, October the 5th, if my calendar is right. Butler skies one in foul territory. This will get back out of play. And then, of course, Mr. Boone and myself will be hunkering down for a month's worth of action on ESPN Radio. John Shelby, Chris Singleton also doing a bunch of playoff games on ESPN Radio. Half Yankees, half Red Sox in that couple. That's
still getting along.
Civil.
You and me or them?
Them.
Oh, them, yeah. You and me, let's revisit that at the end of October.
Yeah.
You'll have the scarf out by then. I'll have the toque out.
That's right.
The 2-2. Over Hembry. Here's Pedroia. And plenty of time to get Butler one down. Drew Pomeranz tonight went 3 2/3, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 7 hits. Walked 2, struck out 3, and allowed the home run to Gary Sanchez. Pomeranz, as you mentioned earlier, Aaron, has thrown more innings this year than he's ever thrown before, and that back end of the bullpen, whether it's Pomeranz, Rodriguez, or Clay Buchholz, who had been moved to the bullpen and then hardly pitched for a while, and some wondered if he might be on the verge of maybe getting released as some injured pitchers came back, but with Stephen Wright, the knuckleballer who was so good in the first half of the season for the Red Sox, suffering a shoulder injury, pinch running. Went on the DL, came back, but it's still not right, dealing with bursitis. They don't know yet what the timetable is for him. Clay Buchholz, once again, is a factor, has to be a factor for the Red Sox to do well in October.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Pomeranz is starting to show signs of that innings. I mean, he's never come anywhere close to where he's been this year. And I think the Red Sox, who were in such need of pitching, I think were aware of that when they acquired him and were willing to live with that. But he looks like a different guy right now, Pomeranz, than he has for much of the year, where he's been outstanding. An all-star, obviously, with the Padres in the first half.
A pop-up for Pedroia. And Gregorius retired 2 down. Let's take a look at the rotation for the Red Sox as it stands right now. They've got a Cy Young Award candidate in Rick Porcello, 20-4 and an ERA just over 3. David Price, yesterday notwithstanding, has pitched extremely well in the last few weeks. Overall 16-8, 391. And then Pomeranz up and down, Eduardo Rodriguez up and down, Clay Buchholz up and down. But Buchholz pitching well lately.
Yeah, I think you hope you get a strong outing in a series by either Rodriguez or Buchholz, and then hope the top holds up.
And just think if they can get Stephen Wright back at the end of this month, and if he's even a quarter of the pitcher that he was throughout most of this season. I mean, talk about a Cy Young Award candidate, the way he was pitching that knuckleball.
McCann lines one up the alley in left center for a base hit. On his way to second as Bradley fires it back into the infield, sliding in just ahead of the throw is McCann with a 2-out double.
McCann just does a nice job. You see the location of this pitch down in the zone, just staying through it, driving this ball opposite field, left center. He's a little bit on the plate and just drops the barrel down, meets it where the pitch is. Doesn't run very fast. And with JBJ, he thought for a chance he might even have him, but Dustin Pedroia even trying to be a little sneaky at second.
You know, this will be one of the interesting subplots in the offseason for the Yankees, is what the future of Brian McCann is, as Donovan Solano steps in. With the arrival of Gary Sanchez, McCann's got 2 more years on his contract, $17 million per. This is his 3rd year, finishing up his 3rd year with the Yankees. Do the Yankees keep him as a backup catcher, part-time DH, maybe some first base, mentoring some young pitchers, mentoring Sanchez? Or will there be interest in a McCann? And would the Yankees move him? Obviously, the deal would have to be right. They'd have to keep some of the money, but will they move McCann in the offseason? The trading of the veterans may not be done in the Bronx. MLB.TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 supported devices and enjoy a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV. Red Sox coming up, bottom of the 5th, trailing the Yankees 4-0. CC Sabathia on the mound for the Yankees tonight. They've gotten his pitch count up, as you can see, 82, just 1 pitch here into the 5th inning, but they've not been able to get anything across against him.
And this is where the transformation of CC, I feel like, has really shined, is when batters like the Red Sox, which you think about probably the toughest lineup in all of baseball, has fouled off a lot of pitches, really made him work. But because of that, he's used all 5 of his pitches to have more to go to than just his fastball and his changeup.
Well, and he's getting to an area of the game, though, where he can be vulnerable, especially against this lineup. First time through the order, 198, 269 the second time, but Dustin Pedroia on deck to start the 3rd time through. 296 this year against Sabathia, that 3rd time through. So
this is something you hear more and more throughout baseball. What is a pitcher like 3rd time through the order? Starts are getting shorter, bullpens are getting in earlier. Teams are more reluctant to have their pitchers face teams the 3rd time around.
Well, as a hitter, that's when you're chomping at the bit. I got to see this guy a 3rd time. I know what he's thrown me. I got a good feel for his stuff.
Meanwhile, in the Boston bullpen, right-hander Junichi Tazawa is now up. Guy who's been unscored upon in his last 5 appearances after a real rough stretch, where he had maybe hit a wall. He's pitched a lot in the last few years. Here's Holliday sending a drive to deep center field. Right off the top of the wall. It is in play. Stopping at second is Holliday. And did a fan touch that ball out there? And if they did they reach over or not? This is going to get interesting. Well, if you want it to be a home run, maybe don't touch the ball out there unless it was over. That's reaching into play, I think, don't you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you even saw the fans' reaction afterwards saying it hit his hand.
Definitely hit his hand, but I think this is going to stand as a double. It didn't look like this ball was going to get out of the ballpark. Well, that's going to leave a mark on that fan's hand.
So the umpires are talking about it. Now remember, as we mentioned, the Red Sox have lost their challenge, but this is different. In the area involving a home run, you can always make a request and the umpire can decide, the crew chief can decide on his own to have review. I would think they would look at this one. I'm surprised this conversation is going on as long as it is.
Well, I hope they don't meet on this for a while and then decide to go look and find out. Like, you almost wish somebody could buzz them right now and say it's a double. Let's move it along.
And they're just deciding it's a double.
Oh, they're bringing the headset.
Oh, they are.
Jeez.
Yeah. So they are just reaffirming what the call on the field was and then saying they're going to go look at it.
Correct.
It makes me think the conversation must have been, can they look at it? But my understanding is anything to do with a potential, is it a home run or not, can always be looked at.
Well, I think it's a no-doubter that they should. Obviously, the naked eye, you're not going to be able to tell exactly where the ball was located. I'm just surprised they didn't do it right away.
Well, you understand them wanting to make sure that they determine what call's been made on the field, so that's what they can go on, because you obviously need conclusive evidence to overturn something. But this should happen in a much more timely manner.
Well, the other thing I wonder is, and here the headsets are coming off quickly, it looks like, but New York can be looking at this. They can be looking at it in the replay center before they even decide to go to the replay center to speed up the whole thing, and maybe that's what they did. So the ruling on the field stands, fan interference, and it is a double for Holliday. Got a little mark, probably got a little bruise on his hand. Probably did not alter the outcome of the play. As he reached in, it would have been a double one way or the other, but in all likelihood. Leadoff man aboard, and the batter is Dustin Pedroia, 0 for 2.
And this is where you've got to start to be a little concerned about CeCe. Again, the third time through the order, approaching 90 pitches now. Wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some action in that Yankees bullpen, even as good as Sabathia has been tonight.
Pedroia pops one into left center, and Gardner there shy of the track to make the catch for the first out. Let's go now to our greater coverage of baseball plays of the game, brought to you by T-Mobile.
Well, it's been CeCe using all 5 of his pitches, including his fastball to both sides of the plate, his 4-seam and his 2-seam, really getting inside to hitters, and his cutter into right-handers, his changeup setting up those righties, and the slider away to lefties, although he'll throw that to both sides of the plate, and he has tonight. But that has been the transformation. Not a guy that's going to blow it by you in the mid-90s with his fastball anymore. He's going to slice you and dice you with 5 different pitches and be able to locate, and that's what he's done so far against this Red Sox team.
The Red Sox are 0 for 4 tonight with runners in scoring position. They're hitting .289 on the season with runners in scoring position. Very strong mark. One of the reasons why they've scored more runs than any team in baseball this year. Bogaerts has struck out and walked. Outside.
We saw CC Xander's last at bat really try to paint away using his backdoor slider, then trying to come back in, but very consistent, not throwing the ball over the middle of the plate, just trying to paint both those corners with those two pitches.
And he falls behind 3-0 now on Bogaerts with Mookie Betts on deck.
Hey guys, the most pitches he's thrown in the last 16 starts, 103.
Yeah, they're starting to move around in that Yankee bullpen. Guys starting to stretch and get ready, and I'm sure that phone's going to ring.
Kind of feels like maybe a Luis Severino situation back in the bullpen for the Yankees. Was in the rotation, sent down, came back as a reliever. He's been lights out in the bullpen. 3-0 in for a strike. Wipeout stuff when he locates. Doesn't have his game face on just yet. High ball 4. So Joe Girardi and Larry Rothschild considering their options. Still nobody throwing in the pen. And Sabathia now with 94 pitches on a pretty warm, humid night. Now it looks like the call's gone down to the pen. That's Mike Harkey, the bullpen coach, taking the call. And who's it going to be? Going to be Blake Parker. Back to the mound, Sabathia, and off the glove of Butler into foul territory.
Well, it's not a good throw by CC, and he had plenty of time, but also probably a play that Butler could have handled. Ball gets in on the hand. CC does a good job as usual of fielding his position and just kind of flips the throw over to first base when he probably had more time and probably could have put more on that throw. Butler in a little bit of a rush when maybe he didn't need to. In his haste to get to the bag, doesn't make sure he catches the ball. Actually, I think if he goes and catches the ball, he's probably not going to be able to get Bogaerts in time.
So a liner to first as Parker starts, liner to the mound as Parker starts throwing, and then a throwing error charge to Sabathia, keeping the inning alive and allowing the runners to advance. Second and third, 2 down for Hanley Ramirez. A base hit and a strikeout. Can't give a team as dangerous as the Red Sox extra opportunities, and Sabathia just did that. Way inside, ball 1.
Another time, though, where you don't necessarily give in. I know he's not the tying run yet, but this is still very early in this game. A very hot and dangerous hitter. You've got to continue to pitch him, whether you're ahead or behind, as though you are ahead in the count against Ramirez.
Meaning not necessarily a fastball and a fastball count, not necessarily a strike.
Well, and for CC, look, both sides of the plate are so important, and he's done a really good job tonight of establishing both sides of the plate. So it's with that cut fastball in on the hands of the right-handed hitters. Still, that backdoor breaking ball we've seen the changeup at times. Willing to throw all the pitches, but he's got to work the periphery of the strike zone against a guy that's as locked in as Ramirez.
Two in scoring position with 2 down for the Red Sox here in the bottom of the 5th.
That's good execution there. You've got a locked-in hitter. That's great discipline by Ramirez to lay off that pitch, but that is the pitch that CC wants to make. So he starts it on the inside part. Hopefully you get him to chase and you can tie him up, but the discipline there to lay it off. But you've established a presence in there.
Crowd really making some noise now in support of Hanley Ramirez. Inside again.
These are good holds by Hanley Ramirez. Those were 2 pitches that were chased his prior at bat. He fouled them off, but he was swinging at pitches off the plate that were balls.
He's locked. He's locked in, and his discipline is on the plate or out over the plate. That's where he knows he's going to do his damage. That's what he's looking for.
Ripped to left field. It is gone. Off the light tower up above the monster. A 3-run home run for Hanley Ramirez. What a series he's having.
Hanley Ramirez, look at where this pitch is located. The backdoor slider he struck out on his at bat before, looking, gets hung a little bit higher, a little bit meatier, and this is where he's looking. That's why he lays off the inside so that he can get his barrel to a pitch that comes back over the plate. And this place erupted as it was confirmed it was out of the park.
And frustration for CC Sabathia. How critical was that throwing error now to extend the inning and give Ramirez a chance? CC stays as Young bounces one to short, backs up Gregorius to end the inning, but not before the Red Sox get on the board and in loud fashion. Hanley Ramirez has gone deep again. And at the end of 5 at Fenway, it's now the Yankees 4 and the Red Sox 3.
I'm still breathing.
As David Ortiz's final regular season hits its home stretch, ESPN.com is asking fans to select the Red Sox slugger's signature achievement. We started off with 32, now down to the final 4. David Ortiz's 4 greatest moments collide. 2 #1 seeds must fall. They are the game-winning home run in Game 4 of the 04 ALCS, the game-winning hit in Game 5, the big home run against the Tigers in 2013 in the playoffs, and David Ortiz's speech in the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing. Time to cast your votes for the most memorable moment on ESPN.com. Ortiz having maybe as remarkable a season as any 40-year-old has ever had, leading the majors in OPS right now. 47 doubles, well over 100 runs driven in, not in the lineup tonight, available to pinch hit. And it's one of those Yankee Red Sox games, a tug of war, every out so difficult to get, as Junichi Tazawa is now into the game for the Red Sox, top 6. The Yankees lead has been cut to 1 in the aftermath of the Hanley Ramirez home run in the bottom of the 5th.
And there's Junichi Tazawa on for the 52nd time, as you talked about, hit a real rough patch, but his last 5 outings, Dan, he has been much more like the Tazawa he's been throughout his Red Sox career. And this is really an important couple of weeks for Tazawa as he tries to continue to reestablish himself as a key figure in their bullpen, especially as they head into October, and as this bullpen continues to gain a little bit of strength. Fastball split, curveball slider, but it's that fastball split combination that's so important for him.
Ground ball down to first, scooped up by Shaw. Brad Ziegler is up now in the Boston pen, acquired from Arizona, the side armor. They try to get him in there against as many right-handed bats as possible. Obviously, with that delivery, more effective against righties and lefties. Here's Rob Refsnyder. So Ziegler's time could come after Brett Gardner hits if the inning is still going. Well, if you're a Red Sox fan, with all the comeback victories they've had, still a long way to go in this one. That home run just changed your whole outlook about the game. And if you're a Yankees fan, you got to have a little bit of a couple of blown leads already in this series, and knowing how difficult it is to keep this Boston offense down, especially in this ballpark. And it's only the 6th.
Well, one of the goals too for the Yankees down the stretch probably has to hope that the state of mind for Dellin Betances is a good one going into next year, because he's had some rough outings the last week.
Yeah, had a real rough one on Thursday night here, giving up the Hanley Ramirez homer, but struggled in outings previous to that against Toronto and Tampa Bay. A guy who's thrown more pitches out of the bullpen the last 3 years than any other reliever in baseball. Obviously, his role has changed after the trades of Miller and Chapman. Now, the pitch Ramirez hit out was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. He can still bring it, but the results have not been quite there for Betances to the extent that they were earlier in the season. Good pitch there, 2-2.
That's the split right there. That fastball will be in the low mid 90s typically, and that split usually around 87 as it is there. Looks like a fastball coming in. See that split grip, almost works like a real good 2-seam fastball. The bottom falls out. Refsnyder over the top.
And he got him. Great movement on that pitch as well. 2 down. Lots of big games coming your way this week on the family of networks. Begins Tuesday night on ESPN2 at 10 Eastern. You'll see the Giants and the Dodgers. You can see them again Wednesday night. Also the Red Sox and Orioles Wednesday in the early game, 7 Eastern here on ESPN. And again, a tribute to Vin Scully on Wednesday night, featuring interviews and great moments from his 67-year unparalleled career as Dodger play-by-play announcer. And you can listen in on the Dodgers broadcast in the 4th inning on that night Wednesday here on ESPN. For 1 inning, we will carry the Dodgers broadcast, so everybody across the nation can hear Vin Scully in his last year broadcasting games. 2 down for Brett Gardner. breaking ball in for a strike. Gardner tonight doubled and scored in the first, grounded out in the third, and then reached on a fielder's choice and picked up an RBI in the fourth. Another guy we talked about, Brian McCann, and maybe the possibility that more trades could be coming in the offseason. Brett Gardner could be a guy if they continue to try to get younger. Maybe Brett Gardner is on the move in the offseason. As he grounds one to short, right at Bogaerts. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Tazawa. The Red Sox are coming back up, trailing 4-3. Brought to you by Taco Bell. To the bottom of the sixth at Fenway, the Yankees 4 and the Red Sox 3, and CC Sabathia is back on the mound. Travis Shaw will lead it off. Over 100 pitches on a humid night. Bullpen busy behind him. Lead down to 1. Shaw the lefty, Aaron Hill a right-handed batter, and Jackie Bradley Jr. a left-handed batter due up for the Red Sox this inning. As Shaw pokes one the other way, that's a base hit. A defensive change for the Yankees here in the sixth inning. Mark Teixeira has come into the game for Billy Butler. As mentioned earlier, Teixeira retiring at the end of the season, an outstanding career offensively and defensively. And Joe Girardi was asked by Buster before the game just about managing Mark Teixeira, and he said one of the best things about him was you could just pencil him into the lineup 3 or 4 every day. You knew what you're going to get offensively, defensively. You weren't going to get mistakes. A very productive veteran for many, many years. Here's Aaron Hill. So Joe Girardi wants to leave Sabathia and obviously to face Bradley. So he'll have him work through Hill if he can.
Well, and he's had Hill's number throughout his career. Hill now 4 for 32 in his career. But again, CC getting into that area of danger from a pitch count standpoint in this third time through.
Yeah, guys, and keep in mind as we go through and they're playing matchups, guess who's sitting on the bench? David Ortiz.
He is available. Not in the lineup tonight, but John Farrell said he wouldn't hesitate to use him if he needed him. Hill goes around. That noise you're hearing is the wave going around Fenway. The Red Sox 2.5 up on Baltimore. Boston is 20 games over the 500 mark right now. They've taken the first 3 games of this series. And as you can tell, their fans are fired up right now, hoping for a trip into October. Have not made the playoffs since 2013 when they won the World Series, but they are in great position to do so this year. That's a fair ball. It'll skip out into short left. Shaw on his way to third and in there on the single by Hill.
And this was the pitch earlier in the game. CC Sabathia was able to really get into right-handed batters. And now as we go multiple times through the order, Aaron Hill able to get his barrel out on a fastball, moving in on the hands, but does a nice job barely getting this pitch fair.
Parker's ready, but Joe Girardi again obviously wants to leave Sabathia to get one more lefty-lefty matchup, so he'll leave him to face Bradley in what will be Sabathia's final batter of the evening. A strikeout and a ground out for Jackie Bradley Jr. tonight, a guy who's hit way better when he's hit 8 or 9 than when he's hit higher in the lineup. He hits 9th most often, hitting 8th tonight with Brian Holiday catching. Even when he had that big 29-game hitting streak at the beginning of the season, most of that was spent down on the 9 spot. And the Red Sox are acutely aware of how much better his numbers are down at the bottom than they are in the middle of the order. Pretty dangerous number 9 hitter, although hitting 8 tonight with 25 home runs and 85 RBIs.
You know, you don't see David Ortiz in the dugout right now. No left-hander getting up in the pen for the Yankees. If Sabathia gets Bradley out here or loses him and they go pull him out, this could be that spot where you see Ortiz.
Brian Holiday is on deck, the number 9 hitter and the catcher tonight for the Red Sox. Boy, would this place go nuts if Ortiz popped out of the dugout. At third, Shaw, and at first, Hill. Tying in a go-ahead runs aboard here with nobody out in the bottom of the 6th. One, 2. Base hit right field. That'll tie the ball game.
Back-to-back hitters unable to put him away with 2 strikes. First, Hill, he tried to get the cutter in on the hands. Hill was able to get enough of it. And then a flat breaking ball with 2 strikes that Bradley does a real good job of staying on. Pounds it through the right side to stay in this. Stays in on that. And the Red Sox have now tied this game.
Back into Boston moments ago. What a reaction when David Ortiz came out of the dugout, now live as he waits for Parker to finish his warm-up tosses. John Farrell had a card to play, and he's playing it here in the 6th inning with 2 men on, and the game tied, bringing up a guy who, by any way you want to slice the numbers, is having a phenomenal season for a 40-year-old. He says he's done. He says he's retiring at the end of the year. He says he's not going to change his mind, but boy, will there be a lot of people in this town who will try to talk him out of it. It was his home run on Thursday that started the comeback. Made it 5-2 in the 8th inning. He added an RBI single in the 9th to make it 5-3. Hanley Ramirez won it with a home run off Dellin Betances. Now Parker inherits an unenviable situation with runners at first and second, nobody out, and Ortiz at the plate. And a first pitch fastball for a strike.
Well located with that first pitch fastball on in a huge spot here. He's done a nice job. And now his 15th game. Fastball, low mid 90s typically, curveball, and a split fingered fastball.
Oh, and 2.
Pretty good execution here to start off Ortiz. Fastball in the outside corner, then comes back with the breaking ball that Ortiz thinks might disappear down and in for a ball. Stays up and catches the corner.
Everybody trying to capture the moment as best they can, knowing there are only so many moments left. Got him on 3 pitches. And he'll get a standing O for a strikeout. So now back to the top of the order, as that fan expresses a sentiment that everybody who supports the Red Sox feels. Meanwhile, game still tied, 2 on, 1 out now. And here's Dustin Pedroia. Pedroia's 0 for 3, went 0 for 5 in yesterday's game. Before that, had been picking up hits at a ridiculous clip. He had 40 hits in 20 games heading into yesterday.
Well, he had some good at-bats last night. He drilled 2 pitches out to right field for outs. Still hitting the ball hard, even though he hasn't gotten the hits.
So Ortiz comes and goes as a pinch hitter. Hanley Ramirez, who's got a home run again tonight, 3 home runs in the series. He's hoping for a shot this inning. That's the guy the Yankees don't want to see with the men on base right now. Slow breaking ball misses just inside.
This could be one of those situations where Aaron Hill's been out at second for a long time. You got 2 veteran players. As that breaking ball, they want to go catch the outer half. McCann tries to hold it there, but looks like it comes around the plate on the inside corner. But you got the veteran Hill on at second, been out there for a while. Pedroia, obviously a veteran. It might have been a case of McCann going out there to just possibly change up the signs here.
Up and in, another breaking ball, though the crowd is unhappy about that. Obviously no intent on the part of Parker.
This curveball just kind of slips out of his hand again, wanting to go away with it. This one, even worse than the last one, just stays up and in. If you're Pedroia now, you pretty much eliminate that pitch. He's looking fastball now, out over the plate. Something he can do some damage with. Knows he's got protection behind him. Forget about the off speed.
3-1. Fastball grounded to third. There's one. Throw across. Not in time.
This one, to the naked eye, looked like he might have been out at first base. See what the replay says, but it's a good job by Torreyes of instinctively going to third base to get that force out. Nope, he beat it. And you heard Rob Thompson tell Joe Girardi safe, so they won't challenge this. Ooh.
So they won't challenge. Fielder's choice keeps the inning alive. 2 on with 2 out. The game's still tied, and the batter is Xander Bogaerts as McCann again having a conversation with Parker. The Red Sox tying it on an RBI single by Jackie Bradley Jr. that drove CC Sabathia out of the game. Bogaerts tonight has struck out once and walked twice. Sabathia looking on from the third base dugout. Threw a lot of pitches. They got his pitch count up early, and he just could not get the outs here in the 6th inning to leave with the lead intact. Oh, 0-1.
Big pitch there by Parker. After struggling with a couple breaking balls where he just lost the feeling, almost slipping out of his hand, to get a first pitch in there, flip one back in there. Reestablish the confidence with that, but also put that now in the hitter's mind that I can go to an off-speed pitch as well as my fastball.
Oh, 1 on the way. Swing and a miss again. 0-2. Parker can get out of the situation he inherited. That would be one heck of a job for the right-hander here in this game. It'll bounce away from McCann, and both runners will advance.
I don't know if this was a breaking ball or the split. Yeah, it's a breaking ball. He wants to get the chase. Bogaerts recognizes it real quick. I think McCann thought he was going to be able to catch that as he doesn't shift his body over to block it. They've given it a pass ball. Not very often you see a pitch go in the dirt ruled a pass ball, but certainly one that McCann should have done probably a better job with of just blocking.
Certainly a call that could be changed going forward. Either way, second and third, 2 outs. And the 1-2 down and in.
Yeah, I think by rule, if it hits the dirt, it's supposed to be a wild pitch.
Base hit could bring home 2 now. Bradley's at third. Pedroia's at second. The Yankees were up 4-0. Boston getting 3 in the bottom of the 5th. They have tied it here in the bottom of the 6th. Hung that breaking ball a little bit. Maybe fortunate that Bogaerts didn't get good wood on it.
Blake Parker just relentless with a clear plan. to attack Xander with that curveball. You've seen 4 of them now so far, and now Xander with 2 strikes has to protect, but he gets lucky. Parker does on this one.
But he's a pitch away from a very difficult situation of retiring Ortiz, Pedroia, and Bogarts in a tie ball game potentially.
Another dangerous hitter waiting on deck should the inning continue. Mookie Betts would be next. Got him. What a job by Parker. Inning over, end of 6. The Yankees and the Red Sox are tied at 4. Sports Center at night. John Anderson will have all the highlights from the baseball playoff races, the NFL, the World Cup of Hockey, and everything else from the world of sports. Sports Center at night. Next on ESPN, also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Meanwhile, changes here at Fenway as we go to the 7th. Christian Vasquez is now behind the plate after Holiday left for a pinch hitter. David Ortiz pinch hitting for him and striking out. Brad Ziegler is into the game on the mound.
Former closer of the Diamondbacks, Ziegler brought on to provide back inning depth, and now with Uehara kind of assuming that 8th inning role again, Ziegler will probably be in more 6th, 7th inning situations where John Farrell can get him in there against righties, and he's a tough guy with that underarm sinker ball. So he gets a slider there to the corner.
Ronald Torreyes leading off the inning and lunging at that pitch. Pops it out of play.
Look at the sidearm delivery there of Brad Ziegler. Works that sinker slider to righties.
got him over the outside corner for out number 1.
Gary Sanchez back in the 3rd inning. Hit a bomb, came in at 88 miles per hour. Exit velocity, launch speed at 111. Anything over 100 is good, but Gary Sanchez, ridiculous how hard he hit this ball. Almost came back in after he hit it off of the sign. It was out of here before he was pretty much out of the box. 16 home runs, just over 40 games that he's played in a Yankees uniform.
He faced Ziegler on Friday, and Ziegler struck him out. This could be it for Brad Ziegler. There's a left-hander up in the pen. Switch hitter Mark Teixeira is on deck for the Yankees. That is Robbie Scott, a really interesting story. A guy signed out of an independent league a number of years back, was not drafted out of college, and boy, he came in and threw 3 shutout innings on Thursday in his 2nd major league appearance, giving the Red Sox offense a chance to get back into the game, and he opened up some eyes on that Boston coaching staff. Fouled off 1-2. So Sanchez tonight, a strikeout, a home run, and a ground out. Getting to 16 home runs faster than everyone in the history of the game, with the exception of Wally Berger back in 1930. Teixeira waiting on deck for his shot. 4-4 tie, top 7. And it runs inside for ball 2.
Tell Gary Sanchez was looking away, 2 strikes, kind of took his front foot a little bit towards the plate. And that pitch ran in, backed off really quick.
Fly ball to left field, headed for the monster off the top of the wall. It'll be a long Fenway single for Gary Sanchez, coming up just a few feet short of another home run.
Well, the pitch before, you could kind of almost tell the approach that Gary Sanchez was having, looking away. And when you're looking away with 2 strikes, it allows you to be able to protect against this slider at 73 miles per hour. Breaking away from the bat. This is a tough pitch. This is not a bad location and not bad action late. But he does just a nice job getting his knee down, and because he was looking middle away with more of a go with it mentality, he's able to drive that pitch for a double.
So now Teixeira. Ziegler will face him. So the choice for John Farrell was, do you want Ziegler against a left-hand hitting Teixeira or Scott against a right-hand hitting Teixeira?
And I think this is an easy call to go with what's been a closer. I think they want Scott only against a lefty, which would be Gregorius, that gets to him on deck.
Outside ball 2. Teixeira again plagued by injuries this year, hitting just .199, 12 homers on the season. He's announced his retirement effective the end of the year. You want to know one big difference for the Yankees this year to last year. Last year, Alex Rodriguez and Mark Teixeira combined for 64 home runs and 165 RBIs. This year, 21 home runs and 68 RBIs. And of course, A-Rod released several weeks ago. Teixeira can still run into one every now and again, and when you look at all-time switch hitters, only 4 of them have hit more home runs than Mark Teixeira.
It's been an outstanding career, especially when you factor in what an outstanding defensive first baseman he's been his entire career. And one of those home runs in his outstanding career have come against Brad Ziegler. 2 for 8 with a homer in his career against Ziegler.
Full count pitch. Into right field. Mookie Betts over, made the catch. Could not double off the runner, but what an incredible diving catch by Mookie Betts out in right field.
And it's two things that he does so well. First, it's just the jump that he gets immediately knowing where this ball is heading and tailing towards the line. So he makes the decision immediately. He's going to leave his feet, but look at the spin on the ball. It's moving towards the line. He's able to finish the catch. Definitely one of the best defensive players, if not the best. When you look at 29 defensive runs saved, leads Major League Baseball, and another great one there.
Outstanding play by Betts. Pitching change. Ziegler out. Scott coming in. 4-4 here at Fenway. Guy putting up incredible offensive numbers this year. Check out the defense for the converted infielder. Now arguably as good as any right fielder in the game. An outstanding diving catch. Almost doubled off the runner. As it is, 2 down. Sanchez back to first. And left-hander Robbie Scott is in to face D.D. Gregorius. And as you can see, there is some deception in what Robbie Scott's bringing to the game.
Yeah, and you see why John Farrell's excited about the possibilities for Robbie Scott. Serious deception against the lefty. Just started really dropping down in July. And that's a nasty first pitch breaking ball to a tough out against lefties in D.D. Gregorius.
Scott went to Florida State, not drafted out of college. Spent his first year out of college pitching in an independent league where he was seen by the Red Sox, was signed to a minor league deal in 2011. And now at the age of 27, 5 years later, he is up in the big leagues. This is his 3rd big league appearance. And again, Thursday, he went 3 shutout innings, the 6th, 7th, and 8th, giving the Red Sox a chance to come back. It's the kind of situation you never know where a guy could find himself on the playoff roster if he keeps pitching well in September.
Continue to get lefties out. Absolutely.
One-two to Gregorius, and a fastball is fouled back.
Didi's had a lot of success against left-handed pitchers. 328, highest American League from left-handed batters. But you can tell there's a little bit of deception just because of how uncomfortable Didi has looked even in that last foul ball.
But I think he's protecting against that breaking ball, and I think that's where you see the evolution of D.D. Gregorius. Just setting that foot down.
Couldn't reach it. Scott a pump of the fist as he comes off the mound. A big strikeout to win the inning. Tied at 4, 7th inning stretch. It's another typical Yankee-Red Sox game. Tied at 4 going to the bottom of the 7th. The Red Sox have won the first 3 games of the series. The Yankees are in desperate need of every win they can muster if they somehow have any kind of a chance to climb over a number of teams and to get back into the wild card hunt. They're 3.5 out of the second wild card right now. Another home run for Gary Sanchez. Another home run for Hanley Ramirez. And we go to the bottom of the 7th now, tied at 4. New pitcher for the Yankees is right-hander Tyler Clippard.
Well, one of those acquisitions that Brian Cashman made, veteran setup with some closing experience, has had a very good season. First with Arizona, now back with the Yankees, on for the 62nd time. Outstanding changeup. Throw a fastball, cut fastball, and a curveball as well. It's the changeup that's made him a very good back end of the bullpen reliever in his career. And there's a first pitch changeup. Just missing.
For those of you looking for SportsCenter, you can find it currently on ESPN News. We're here in the bottom of the 7th on Sunday Night Baseball. The Yankees 4 and the Red Sox 4. The numbers for Clippard on the season between the Diamondbacks and now the Yankees. Mookie Betts will lead it off on the heels of that great catch in the top half of the inning. He's 1 for 3 at the plate tonight. After Betts, it'll be Hanley Ramirez and then Chris Young. Up high, ball 2. That guy is, as Aaron has said on a number of occasions tonight, locked in right now. Hanley's got 3 home runs in this 4-game series and has homered in 11 of his last 21 games. Betts pops it up. 1 down.
Well, you can tell a batter is locked in when he hunts the same pitch he was struck out on the at-bat before that 3rd inning. Backdoor slider. He looks for it after battling and staying off an inside pitch to find that same backdoor slider a little bit higher in the zone, but that's how you know Hanley Ramirez able to make that adjustment from at-bat to at-bat in a big-time way.
He took that bat almost. He was rounding first when he tossed that bat away on that home run. He's got it back now. Great numbers in the series, great numbers in September. 1 RBI away now from his career high. Foul ball, says third base umpire Bill Welke, who was thinking about the call and thinking about his own safety as well.
I'm not sure Bill saw that. That ball was rifled. And Brian Butterfield's asked him. It did look initially like possibly this was fair, but I think Bill Welke got it right. That ball was launched. That was a changeup that hung up. Wow. Oh no, does that catch the edge of the line there?
I saw grass fly up. Looked like foul. I'm sure there's a good mark. Probably go fine as hard as he hit it.
So it'll stand as a foul ball, and it's 1-1 now on Ramirez. Even the foul balls are scorched off his bat right now. A huge cut, and he fouls it back out of play off to our left.
This is the pitch you could tell he was honed in on. He takes that huge swing, loses his helmet on the back end, but he set that launch angle. That was it for a base hit.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count with 1 out and the bases empty here in the bottom of the 7th. The Yankees 4 and the Red Sox 4. Up high.
I would stay hard with him, but I'd try and come in. I'd challenge him at the top of the zone and in on the hands, and maybe I think you can freeze him in there, but you can certainly tie him up. Again, he's looking for something out over the plate.
And that's what's interesting to me about Hanley and his stance, because he opens up that front foot when he gets in the batter's box, but he kind of decides when he gets into that leg kick where it's going to come down depending on where he's hunting. If he wants something inside, he'll keep that front side open with that front foot. But when he's searching like he did at that home run away, that front foot will get closed.
The count now full. And he has done it again. An unbelievable streak continues for Hanley Ramirez, and the Red Sox have the lead. He's making the game look easy right now.
He still has absolute lightning in his hands, meaning tremendous bat speed. And if you don't locate and dot it in with a heater, he's deadly right now. In every changeup that Clippard threw in that bat, he was all over. This one, he finally squared it up fair, and lost it out on Lansdowne.
A well-deserved curtain call. It's 5-4 Boston. Just tied his career high with his 106th RBI. It's his 28th home run of the season, his 4th in the series. And now Young lifts a high fly ball down the left field line, but just foul. This place is buzzing right now, to say the least, about Hanley Ramirez. Into right center field and down for a base hit. Young with a big turn, now back to the bag. Ball gets away, but backed up by Torres. It's a long single.
Well, it's another changeup to Hanley Ramirez. It just drifts over the heart of the plate, and he is in outstanding position to handle it. See the lower half go, the upper body come late, and he hits a no-doubter to left field.
In his last 21 games, he's got 12 home runs and 29 RBIs. That'll get you a curtain call. The batter now, Travis Shaw. High in the air to left center field. And Mason Williams is there shy of the track to haul it in for out number 2.
You know, there's really only one place you can go with Hanley right now. For as locked in as he's in, you've got to challenge him hard on the inside corner, and he's giving you that. He's saying, all right, if you can dot 3 on this inside corner, I'll tip my cap to you and you might beat me. But you miss anywhere out over this plate, whether it's with fastball, breaking ball, changeup, he's not only covering it, but he's covering it with authority.
Two down now for Aaron Hill. When you think about the depth of the lineup, that when David Ortiz is in there, Hanley Ramirez is hitting fifth. Pedroia, Bogarts, Betts, Ortiz, Ramirez. No wonder they're the best offensive team in baseball.
Ortiz third.
Or I'm sorry, Ortiz third, Betts fourth. My mistake. And then Ramirez fifth. And again, Jackie Bradley usually hitting ninth, the guy who's got 25 home runs and 85 runs driven in on the year. The best offense baseball has seen since the 2009 New York Yankees. The Red Sox are averaging 5.57 runs per game. The Yankees in 2009 were at 5.65, and they went on to win the World Series.
Well, and then you've got some nice potential platoon splits. Chris Young's been outstanding against left-handed pitching. Benintendi now back. If he can return to the form before he had the knee injury, he's kind of an impact, showed he could be an impact player, especially against right-handers.
And we haven't seen Sandy Leon tonight, but he's the primary catcher for the Red Sox. He's hitting .339 this year in 224 at-bats. With power, 26 extra base hits. They don't have any issues swinging the bats and scoring runs. It'll be the pitching that determines how far the Red Sox go. Strike 3-1.
And I think what's been the most impressive part about this Red Sox offense in this series is how late they score. They've been behind in most of the games against this rival team and come back to win all of them. Of course, Hanley Ramirez, I feel like, has been at the front, at the lead of every comeback.
Full count.
Uh-oh.
A little bit of rain starting to fall. It was in the forecast. We thought it was late enough that it might not impact the game, but then we remembered it was the Red Sox and the Yankees playing, and the games go a little bit longer between these two teams than they do between most teams.
She came prepared.
So they're getting creative now. Runner will be on the move. And the 3-2 is hit up in the air down the left field line. Gregorius out, Gardner in. Gardner makes the catch, and that's the inning. But Hanley Ramirez has done it again. His fourth home run of the series. And with 7 on the books now with Fenway, the Red Sox have their first lead of the night. ESPN is presented by Taco Bell. Grab any $5 box at Taco Bell and you could win PlayStation VR. Another huge night for Hanley Ramirez. 2 home runs, 4 driven in. Boston has a 5-4 lead. Going to the top of the 8th inning here at Fenway. Brian McCann will face Robbie Scott. The lefty is back out after he struck out Gregorius to end the 7th. To face another left-handed batter in McCann.
Now this is normally where down the stretch and in the postseason you would see, or you will see, Koji Uehara, but the Red Sox wanting to stay away from Craig Kimbrell, their closer tonight. So Uehara we would expect to see in the 9th inning in a save situation.
McCann lines one to first. Shaw's there for out number 1.
And there is Koji Uehara sitting down still in the 8th, and Joe Kelly up in the bullpen and looking like he's going to come in now as Scott does his job again, albeit a line drive off the bat of McCann.
Well, John Farrell on his way to the mound, clapping his hands after a good job by Scott. Joe Kelly coming in here in the 8th inning. Four to nothing deficit. They lead 5-4 as the Yankees are batting here in the top of the 8th inning. The bullpen, which has been big all month for Boston, has been big again here tonight. Heath Hembree with an inning and a third of shutout ball tonight. Junichi Tozawa came in. He had a 3-up, 3-down inning, his 6th straight scoreless appearance. Brad Ziegler got a couple of outs, got some help from Mookie Betts on one of them. Robbie Scott striking out Didi Gregorius. Also got Brian McCann here to begin the 8th. The bullpen has been great for Boston the last couple of weeks. You can see how good their numbers have been tonight. This guy could be a very important piece of the puzzle. Joe Kelly, back from the minors, now in the bullpen, throws very, very hard, as everybody knows, and is having some success, Aaron, out of the pen.
Yeah, he's really become now a factor in this bullpen. Not necessarily that we'll typically see him in this role, but you could definitely see him in some close games, even when the Red Sox are behind in those middle innings. The ability to give them a little bit of length if they need it, but a lot of high velocity fastball in the mid upper 90s at times, with 2 and 4 seam and the full mix, slider, curve, and change.
The batter is Donovan Solano, 1 for 3, had an infield hit back in the 4th. First game with the Yankees, a few years with the Marlins. Spent this year at AAA where he hit .319, 33 doubles. You were with us earlier, getting a chance to come up to the Yankees. They needed another body after Starlin Castro left last night's game with a hamstring injury. They don't know when they'll get him back, hoping to get him back at some point. This bullpen has a much different look to it now, with Koji Uehara back, Joe Kelly back from the minors, the addition of Robbie Scott from the left side, Tozawa pitching better. Uehara may be asked to close tonight. Craig Kimbrell has been used quite a bit lately, and Looks like Uehara could be the 9th inning guy tonight instead of the 8th inning. Here's a big one hopper to third. Easy play. 2 down. More baseball comes your way this week on the family of networks beginning Tuesday night on ESPN2. The Giants and the Dodgers. The Red Sox will be in Baltimore for a huge game, 7 o'clock Eastern time Wednesday here on ESPN. And then the Vin Scully special as the Giants play the Dodgers Wednesday night, including ESPN carrying the Dodger broadcast during the 4th inning. So everybody can hear Vin Scully call an inning of baseball, and what he has announced will be his final year behind the microphone. There's Craig Kimbrell, who may be getting the night off tonight. Kimbrell in yesterday's game threw 21 pitches. He also pitched on Friday. There's a ground ball off the mound and up the middle, a base hit for Mason Williams, and the Yankees have the tying man aboard with 2 down in the 8th.
Couple hits now for Mason Williams. Had a double. He's run the bases real well tonight. Had a nice slide at home plate. And with the injury to Ellsbury, may get an opportunity here this final couple weeks.
The batter now is Rob Refsnyder. Refsnyder's 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. In on his hands, and it's fouled back, 0-1. So the Yankees came into this series much closer to things than they are right now. They were 2 out of the wild card and 4 back of first. If they lose this game, they will be 4 out of the wild card and 8 out of first as the days continue to clip off the calendar. You can see they've lost 6 of their last 7 after they had that winning streak that got them back into it. Had a lead, couldn't hold it Thursday. Had a lead, couldn't hold it yesterday. Had a lead, couldn't hold it tonight. Still time to come back, but they were up 4-0 heading to the bottom of the 5th. And maybe the key play in the game, the throwing error by CC Sabathia that extended the inning, brought Hanley Ramirez to the plate, and he socked a 3-run homer. Bouncing ball to short. Bogarts out of the glove to Pedroia to force the runner and end the inning. We go bottom 8 at Fenway. The Red Sox lead the Yankees 5-4. Park with the Red Sox leading the Yankees 5-4. In front of a crowd having themselves a good time here on this Sunday night. The most popular way to follow the September pennant races and the postseason is with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat on your favorite device now. Tommy Lane is into the game for the Yankees. Jackie Bradley Jr. leads off the inning for the Red Sox. Lane, of course, a member of the Red Sox earlier this season.
That was a first pitch slider there on for the 57th time. Go fastball 2 and 4 seam. He will also cut the fastball. A breaking ball and a changeup.
Tell you, being a left-handed batter in baseball today is a lot different than being a left-handed batter, say 50 years ago. Not even 50 years ago, 25 years ago.
And a lefty in September.
Yeah.
We'll even just watch the way Tommy Lane, I mean, that front leg, how it looks like he's going to throw it into the batter's box. A lot of arms and legs coming at you, and then especially when he throws that slider moving away. It's a tough place to be in that left-handed batter's box.
Bradley tonight has struck out, grounded out, had a big RBI single in the 6th inning. That tied the game. Red Sox took the lead in the 7th on the second home run of the night from Hanley Ramirez. Swing and a miss, 1 down. Meanwhile, out of the Red Sox bullpen, it will be Koji Uehara. He's going to be the closer tonight. As we mentioned, Craig Kimbrell has pitched each of the last 2 nights. John Farrell obviously wants to stay away from him. So Uehara, who missed the better part of 2 months with a strained pectoral muscle, is back. And not only is back, is pitching well. And John Farrell telling us before the game he thinks the presence of Uehara has just really put everybody into a better position in the bullpen. It's really solidified everybody's roles. Here's Christian Vasquez. Vasquez, an outstanding defensive catcher. Recalled from the minors on September the 5th. Remember, he was coming back from Tommy John surgery, something you obviously hear a lot more about a pitcher than about a catcher, but had a bit of a late start to the season because of that. Chases a ball down low, and it's 1-2. Red Sox have had all kinds of transactions involving their catchers between Vasquez, Hannigan, Swihart, Leon, and at the end, Leon, the #1 guy. Vasquez was up with the team the first half of the season, was sent down on the 4th of July, recalled in early September. Still, you would think a big part of the future for the Red Sox, but Leon right now getting most of the playing time because of the way he's swinging the bat. He always had a strong defensive reputation, and now he's added a lot of offense to it this year. Leon has. 2-2.
And Dan, that's part of the reason why I don't think it's a given that the Yankees are necessarily going to be aggressive to move Brian McCann in the offseason. The Red Sox are a classic example of a team that went into the year thinking it had a ton of catching, but they were scrambling by the end. And I think the Yankees will be comfortable hanging on to McCann if they don't get the right offer.
All right, Buster, thank you. Chopper to the left side, and Vasquez is retired for the second out. We'll be back with you Friday afternoon. If you can get out of the office or whatever you have to do, we've got a Friday day game from Wrigley Field, the Cardinals and the Cubs, and then we'll have the Sunday night game as well. There's Dustin Pedroia 0 for 4.
I think just turning it on in the office will work too.
I think that will work.
Yeah,
that's a good point. We get a chance to do a day game. Pedroia pops it up. And staggering to make the catch is Solano, but he does get it done, and that's the inning. We are going to the ninth. Koji Uehara coming in to try to lock it down for the Red Sox. Park, it's been another monster night for Hanley Ramirez. That is a 3-run home run in the 5th inning. That is a solo home run in the 7th inning. Big Poppy and everybody else here at Fenway love it. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 hits on the night for Ramirez. And he's the biggest reason why the Red Sox have overcome a 4-0 deficit to take a 5-4 lead to the 9th inning. 3 outs away from a 4-game sweep of the New York Yankees. And John Farrell turns the ball over in the 9th tonight to Koji Uehara.
Throwing the ball real well in the month of September. On for the 6th time now in September. You see there's 6 for 8 in save opportunities on the year. Throwing the ball real well right now. Fastball, split-fingered fastball. Starts with Brett Gardner, a familiar opponent. 0 for 8 is Gardner in his career against Uehara.
So it's top of the order for the Yankees. Gardner, Torres, and then Sanchez. And Austin Romine is out in the on-deck circle to bat for Torres. A lot of injuries for the Yankees. Limited options for Joe Girardi. Down and in, a ball and a strike.
You see Uehara top out at about 86 miles per hour in that last fastball, but he's a perfect example of how location and movement trump velocity.
The 1-1. And Gardner hits a ball to right field. Here comes Betts, and he's got another one. Almost a carbon copy of the catch he made earlier tonight.
Dan, this is so similar except for one difference. This ball is dying. It's starting to come down, so it's tailing and coming back down, and Mookie follows the path of the ball in a way that he makes it look so easy, and you got to understand the risk that's involved with a ball that's not only breaking away from your body but also coming down and away from your glove. But he makes it look like anything hit out that way He's got a 100% chance of catching.
And great concentration on the part of Betts, and he's hearing some MVP chants after the fact. Here's Romine batting for Torreyes. On deck for the Yankees, Gary Sanchez, who has homered again tonight, his 16th. The Red Sox 2 outs away from ensuring they maintain a 3-game lead in the division. It would be over Baltimore. Toronto lost today, so they would drop 4 back if Boston were to win this game. And the Yankees would remain 4 back of the Blue Jays for the second wild card spot if they lose. The Yankees are heading to Tampa Bay. They'll start a series on Tuesday. The Red Sox are heading to Baltimore. They'll start a series there tomorrow night. Huge, to say the least. The current standings in the American League East after the Baltimore win and the Toronto loss earlier today. And they all play each other in the next couple of weeks. Strike 3 call. Now Sanchez, maybe the most dangerous bat going right now this side of Hanley Ramirez. Hit another one tonight, and it got out in a heartbeat. Sanchez and Uehara with 2 down in the 9th. 16 home runs in 160 career major league at bats.
Sanchez just a foot away, a few feet away from hitting a home run his last at bat.
We'll see how he adjusts to the pitching of Uehara. First time facing him. You know he's probably got the scouting report. That fastball 87, but plays much faster. A short, quick arm. He'll challenge you at the top and the bottom of the zone with the fastball, but that outstanding split.
At this point, are they extremely careful, even with a guy like Mark Teixeira on deck? Teixeira struggling this year. Sanchez as hot as he is.
Gotta be. Absolutely gotta be. I mean, Sanchez is, as you said, outside of Hanley Ramirez, as hot as there are right now, especially from a power standpoint. So there's no need to necessarily give in, I should say.
Got a pitch up, and it's lined into left, a base hit. And I think given where that pitch was, the Red Sox might accept that result, that Sanchez didn't get loft on that ball. His 3rd hit of the game.
And now they'll sure run for Sanchez.
Eric Young Jr. Giants and Dodgers coming your way Tuesday night on ESPN2, then a doubleheader Wednesday. The Red Sox and Orioles, Giants and Dodgers again. We'll have the Cubs and the Cardinals for you Friday afternoon and Sunday night. Sports Center next tonight here on ESPN. The tying run is at first with 2 down, and Young's got great wheels. Teixeira the batter, but the Yankees down to their final out. The shift on for the Red Sox with Pedroia way out on the outfield grass and playing as far to pull as you will ever see a second baseman. I mean, even by today's shift standards, that is extreme. Want to know the count, Young the lead. Will they challenge the arm of Vasquez? Runner not going, and it's in for a strike, 1-1. One and two. 37,306 on their feet at Fenway Park. 1 out away from a 4-game sweep that will knock the Yankees into an even more desperate situation heading down the stretch. The set by Uehara. The runner goes, and the 1-2 swung on and popped up. Bogarts backpedaling into the outfield, gets called off by Bradley, and the Red Sox win it. Hanley Ramirez, the hitting star again. Koji Uehara gets the save. Mookie Betts, a couple of outstanding catches, and the Red Sox sweep the Yankees, take 4 games from them, and remain 3 games up in the American League East, while the Yankees remain 4 games out of the second wild card spot. Beware the Red Sox and beware Hanley Ramirez right now. Some long faces on the Yankee side of the field after this weekend went as poorly as it could go. The final score from Fenway: the Red Sox 5 and the Yankees 4. For Aaron Boone, Jessica Mendoza, Buster Olney, and our entire ESPN Sunday Night Baseball crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying so long from Fenway Park. We thank you for watching. SportsCenter is coming up next.